Welcome, one and all, to the premiere episode of Granny's Peach Tea here on Pop Culture Pros. My name's Ed Kamis. Here with me is Jason Fashetic. Over to my let's see, right, left. It's right, and then we got Tony Stabile with us. We got both of our pop collections going on in the back. What's up, fellas?
What's going on, bro?
Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Thank you guys for signing on board to do the show. So we got a lot to cover in this episode and everything like that. But no, we definitely do.
I'm burning, man. I'm burning.
And so let's just get a quick welcoming, guys. So listen, this is Granny's Peach Tea. We're hoping it'll be your home for any kind of like news on comic book movies and comic book TV shows for the Pop Culture Pros site and network all around. We're gonna have some fun with this, man. We're gonna have a good time. We're just a couple of dudes chatting about some stuff that we really, really love, and we chat about it not in front of a camera. So we figured, why as well chat in front of a camera and see what's up. So that's where we're at. If you do, or if you're familiar with Pop Culture Pros, you can go ahead and join the group on Facebook. We have our own Facebook group as well for Granny's Peach Tea. You can, you might be watching us on Twitter or Instagram or YouTube or, listening to it later. So that's all fantastic. Thank you for joining us from wherever time, place, or level of the multiverse that you might be in at this time. So yeah, I'm actually I usually co-host the Empire 161 show with my partner in crime over there, Tim Tabala, which we cover some Yankee stuff, and we also cover Star Wars in the off season. So interesting combination. But like this show is going to be focused on comic book media type stuff. So we're going to go ahead and do our thing. So let's go around the horn. Let's just introduce ourselves. Jason, you want to get things started?
Sure. So my name is Jason. I've known Eddie. I've known you since high school. We've been friends a long time.
Sure.
Tony, I met you a couple of days ago through this. So I'm really excited to have these conversations with you guys because things might get really interesting. I think they will. I've been reading comic books since I'm a kid. I think I want to talk about the two seminal comic book experiences I had. Then I'm gonna end it first. Batman '89. That movie, I've seen every Batman movie in the theater. I'm a big Batman guy. We're going to talk about that a bit today. But that movie got me into comic books. And then after I got into comic books, I went Batman and then I went Marvel. And what hooked me into Marvel, which as we all know what this is, so if I can center this, the first big Marvel crossover I ever experienced when I was younger was the Infinity Gauntlet series, which I still have my original. And not to sell, I'll never sell it. You can burn it after I'm dead if you like. I cannot get rid of it. It's my favorite. I like to revisit it. I like to even see the comics. So that's kind of where I am. That's where I got my start in comics. Batman, Infinity War, or Infinity Gauntlet rather. That's Infinity Gauntlet.
For the comics, it's two big different things.
Yeah, that's why I had to correct myself, because usually I'd be the guy in the other end going, I'm sorry, I think you mean Infinity Gauntlet. There's a difference. So that's kind of where I come at comics. I read them, I teach them, I teach high school, I bring them in my high school class. I have written curriculum based around graphic novels and comic books. So this is something, these movies, these books, these are, as I feel, American folklore and American mythology, and I'm really I'm into it. I love it. So that's my stance.
Nice. All right. So Tony, what's up? What got you into this stuff?
Well, Eddie and I have been friends for about 5 years now. We used to actually work together, and we sat across from each other and spent basically all of those 5 years discussing the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the DCEU, and pretty much everything that has to do with comic books. As you see, I am a big pop collector. You can thank Eddie for that, and I do blame this. I do blame this on you. The fact that I have them all over my house now. So thank you very much for for getting me involved in that. I appreciate it. For me, Yeah, well, you. This is you. This is all on you. I remember the first 4 I got was the Godfather series, and I still have them. And I remember taking a picture, and I'm like, "Thank you very much," because I just ordered 5 more. So thanks for kicking that off on me, pal. I really appreciate it. I love it though. It's great. It's nothing like trying to find a new pop. And this is all of my Marvel ones behind me. I have them all together. So comic books is obviously a big part of that. I didn't get into comics until I was older. When I was a kid, I watched Super Friends. I watched the Amazing Spider-Man on Saturday morning cartoons, and everything changed for me after I saw 1989 Batman with Michael Keaton. I was completely hooked at that point. And then when Marvel started making the MCU, and Eddie will tell you, I am completely been bought in ever since. I go see every movie opening night. DC, same thing. I've gotten into things that I've never thought that I would get into. I've gone back and read Infinity Gauntlet. I've read, The Dark Knight Returns. I've read Death in the Family. Like, I've read those graphic novels and enjoyed them immensely. And, it's such a big part of my life. I've tried to pass it on to my kids. They love it. They go see the movies with me now. Also, they look forward to when the shows come out. So it's been an unbelievable thing where I didn't get into it when I was real young, but now as an adult, I'm completely hooked on it. So I love it, and this was a great opportunity. Like, I get to sit back for an hour and a half every week, and get to talk about this shit. I love it, man. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, Eddie asked me to be on this, and I was like, I don't know. Let me see. Wife, because my wife is Regina, by the way. I'll mention her a bunch of times. Regina, do you want to sit down and talk comic book movies with me? And she went, "You have friends for that?" So I was like, Eddie, of course I'll do this. Of course I will.
Well, I'm glad we could get an outlet to go with it. I mean, thankfully, my wife Angie is into the stuff as well. I mean, she has her own types of things like Harry Potter, which we just finished a rewatch of it. So I know, Tony's going to be excited about that one. So I finished my rewatch of it, and then she likes Twilight and she likes Hunger Games and all that. So I've watched all that stuff, and it's fine. But she also has been to, since we met, like when we used to do midnight showings. Remember back before 6 o'clock and normal time showings. Yeah, so she was cool enough to come with me to some midnight stuff and our group of friends and stuff like that. So, I'm thankful for that. But like, what got me into this stuff is I just remember as a kid, like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Like that's kind of like how early I remember seeing this stuff. And like, you guys mentioned too, the Super Friends also on so Saturday morning cartoons played a big role in the jumping off point. And then I remember just watching a bunch of going to Jason, I used to go to Captain Video and rent some of the animated stuff. Yes.
Oh yeah.
For those who are in Ridgewood or Glendale and Queens, New York, Captain Video used to have some pretty awesome stuff, comic book wise. So I'd watch some of that stuff, and then got into like Batman '66 before it was like a thing. Like my father would just like put me onto that type of thing because he actually liked comics too. Like he would tell me about a bunch of things like that. So it kind of just went from there, and it's funny watching an adult watching Spider-Man His Amazing Friends or the Super Friends. You're like, this is absurd. Like, how the hell did this hook me in? So I think after that, though, I kind of just like once you get to the normal reading age, I started picking up comics and stuff like that, and I was drawn to Spider-Man immediately. Kid from Queens, let me correct. At the time, skinny kid from Queens, growing up. And like little nerdy or so and stuff like that, but you're like, I can relate to this. I kind of just found like Spider-Man is relatable, and then Spider-Man, and then after that it was like the X-Men I was really into, Spider-Man and X-Men. Then video games came and things like that, and I think like I originally saw Batman as kind of a goofball because of Batman '66 and that whole series, but then like you guys, I mean, listen, Tim Burton's Batman 1989 changed everything for me. I'm like, I don't want to watch this anymore. Like that's not Batman. I know what Batman is.
Right.
And then started getting interested with that, and like, and just started rolling from there, man. And then took some time off, got back into it, back and forth. But then once the movies started coming out.
Oh, that was the end for me.
Yeah, like
Or the beginning, I should say.
yeah, because there was like the first Batman, Tim Burton Batman movies, and then it kind of like the next ones were kind of goofy. And Jason and I were in high school at that point, so we're also kind of like, we can't watch this stuff right now either. So whatever. We're too old now. And then I don't know. Then after you got into it, Blade, X-Men, then of course, forget it. I lost my mind with Spider-Man coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Once Sam Raimi's Spider-Man dropped, I was like in another world, and then you just ran from there. So
and those Spider-Man movies, like we talk about game changers, but I think leading up to what the MCU, what we're talking about, I think '89 Batman starts that trend. Right. And then when we get to Spider-Man, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, when you have like a director, not just like some guy you're paying money to make a Spider-Man film, but a director with a vision and a stable of actors that he works with, and actually who wants to interact with the character, which is what we had with Burton too. Right. That said, but I think the fact that it's Spider-Man, it brings it to a whole new level. And then X-Men is after Spider-Man, or am I reversing that?
No, X-Men was before. X-Men, it was kind of like, Tony and I, a co-worker of ours, a chief, used to like debate me on this, but like Blade was the one that kind of got Marvel for their films on the board. Mm-hmm. Then X-Men, then the studio was like, all right, cool, let's get X-Men. And then Spider-Man. Spider-Man was 2002.
Well, okay. Blade saved them because they were about to go bankrupt. And if Blade didn't make any money, they would have gone bankrupt and had to sell every property that they had. It was, they sold so many of them off. We still see Spider-Man with Sony, but they had sold everybody. They had sold Captain America. They had sold Iron Man. They sold everything because they were completely out of money. And until Blade came along, that's really what was able to save Marvel and to move them into a position where they could say, hey, look, these movies can make money. And it doesn't have to just be it doesn't even have to be a children's movie. It can be an adult movie and people will go see it. And Blade was the one that actually allowed them to say, hey, look, we could do this. We could make money off this. And you see it now. Nothing makes money like Marvel movies makes.
No, they're like, everything now with the MCU, everything is $1 billion franchise. Like within the MCU, everything is $1 billion franchise. It's like they print money. It's absurd.
Mm-hmm. Oh, literally. They print money with Stan Lee's face on it, and people go, oh, better than president. We got it. Better than regular money. We got it. It's like because it's Stan Lee.
It's amazing. People don't even know. I know many people, and Eddie can tell you about this. We sat and we debated Infinity War for what it had to be about 4 months, 5 months before it came out, every day, every single day. And there was a guy that used to sit like close to us. He worked in finance. Like, this is a guy who was he never watched comic book movies before, like never. And he sat there, and one day right before Infinity War came out, he goes, I've been listening to you guys talk about this for months. He goes, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about, but I want to go see this movie now because it sounds great. And he did. And Eddie, I got to tell you this. I forgot to tell you this. Alan went and started from the beginning and watched every single MCU film from Iron Man all the way through Far From Home. He started, so I set him on a path. I said, after he watched Infinity War, then he said, well, I didn't understand this. I said, well, go back and watch this movie, and he did. And after a while, he's like, I want more. I said, so if you really want this the way it should be, I said, go back and watch every film from one up until you get to Endgame. And he did. He watched every single one of them, and he would come in and he got his wife into it. And he would come in and he would explain, he would say, okay, I got this, but what about this? And where did I get this from? And I literally hand walked him through the whole thing. And at the end of it, he says, I cannot thank you enough for this. He says, because I am now a fan. He goes, and I cannot wait for the new stuff to come out because it is really, he loves it. And this is a guy who never was into it before, but he just heard two guys in the office talking about it incessantly. And now he's a lifelong fan because of it.
That's such an awesome story. And like, I don't know, I kind of wish, like, I like the journey that I've taken with this stuff, but I kind of wish I could sort of like memento myself, you know what I mean? Like Guy Pearce myself, and then re-experience it, but then get my memories back. So I have both experiences because I'm greedy. I want my cake and to eat it too. But imagine that, man, that couple's journey. That's beautiful that you were able to give that to them.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, and I've said this a million times, and I'm sure I've said it to you, Ed, is if I could bottle that feeling that I had watching Endgame for the first time, I would be a billionaire, because if I could sell that in a bottle and people could experience what you've experienced after watching all of those movies lead up to that, and the callbacks and how everything was so lined up, and it was I'm telling you, you could make billions of dollars off of that, because I sat there in pure joy that night and watched it back to back.
Yes,
6
that's an
hours.
amazing thing, by the way. Yeah, that's incredible. Number one, you have a bladder of steel. If you might be a mutant, then your ability is your bladder.
That's right.
I didn't want to brag, but I mean, I was able to pull it off. So
that's incredible.
You might not be a good in a fight against Magneto, but if we ever need to take a 64-hour road trip, we're getting you a bunch of coffee, and you are the guy, and that is the greatest superpower ever.
I am your guy. I am Bladder Man. That's it. I am Bladder Man.
That's awesome. Yeah, so that's I mean, it's pretty cool. I love hearing like things like that too. I mean, there's a friend of mine, Suhaiti, who she might be watching the show with her son or not, but like it was I think it was like a year or two ago. She just reached out on Facebook like, hey, does anyone know the order of this Marvel movies? Because like I'm gonna, me and my son is interested and we want to watch it. So then I just reached out to her. I told her this is the order, blah blah blah. This is it. And then then I thought about it. I'm kind of like, she's gonna have to like bounce around to get these things. But I was like, I just shared my Voodoo password and my login account so she could see it, and then they just went all in. Now the son is all about it. He loves it. I think the daughter loves it too. She's all about it too. They're getting into the DCU now also. So it's awesome when you hear that, man. Like you just find something that's really cool. And the thing with the MCU is that they're just good movies.
Yeah.
I mean, in general, whether you like comic books or not, they're just damn good movies. So
that's right.
That's it. And that's another thing. Besides like, our love for comic books and stuff, the three of us just love movies in general. Like we watch, this isn't the only thing we watch. We're all about, exactly. Tony's got arguably the greatest, film ever made in back of him with Godfather. I mean, seriously, like, so it's just now when you combine the comic book stuff with the love of movies and everything, it's like the perfect marriage, man. Like it's awesome.
And I'll tell you something, to be clear, it was not Iron Man that brought me to the MCU, because when Marvel first started making their movies, I was an X-Men guy. If we're talking Marvel, I was an X-Men guy. I was a Spider-Man guy. I see no X-Men, I see no Spider-Man, I see Tony Stark, which at the time I was not crazy about, right?
Yeah.
But what got me to that movie were two things. It was the director and the star. Right? Because I look, and this will come up. We're talking about these movies. It's going to come up over and over again. I am in love with Robert Downey Jr. Like I want, in no other way that I want to be his BFF. I want to bring him coffee. But I've also said this way before any of this happened. When everyone was calling Robert Downey Jr., a drug addict trash, I was getting in people's faces. I think Tim and I once got into it about Robert Downey Jr. a while, like way back, right? Because I was a big fan of his. So he and the director, God, I'm forgetting his name. Remind me.
Favreau.
Thank you, Favreau, who I loved from Swingers and I loved from his other work. So I said, well, Favreau and Downey Jr. doing Iron Man. Well, I love Downey Jr. and I love Favreau, and I really like comic books. So I'm going to go see this in the theater. And that's what got me hooked. So it's my love of movies and directors and actors that got me hooked to the MCU ultimately.
And the funny thing is that Marvel wanted nothing to do with Downey. They wanted nothing to do with him. They realized that they had one shot at this, and that was really what they looked at. They looked at it as, we got one shot at this, and they were not going to build a franchise around a guy who they couldn't trust. Nobody wanted to insure him. He had been in all kinds of trouble, and Favreau went to bat for him, and he stood on his head and basically said, "This is the guy. There's no question about it. This is the guy, and he has to be the guy." And he wasn't even the highest paid actor on Iron Man, as Terrence Howard was. And Terrence Howard actually didn't come back for the rest of the series because he was not the highest paid actor in Iron Man 2. And
was that the reason?
Yeah, he would not come back. It was all about money. So they weren't going to pay him more than Downey on the second film, and that's why we got the wonderful Don Cheadle to play Rhodey. But I mean, it's the way some of these things work out. I mean, Godfather was the same thing. They want nothing to do with Marlon Brando, and they were going to pull Francis Ford Coppola from the movie. They weren't even going to allow him to direct the movie. Can you imagine what The Godfather would have been like if Francis Ford Coppola or Marlon Brando wasn't a part of that movie? But Coppola just kept working him, and because Brando had a horrible reputation in Hollywood. Nobody wanted to work with him. He was impossible to work with. But when he came in to read for Don Corleone, he had orange peels in his mouth, right? And he had cotton, and he read for the part exactly the way you saw him in the movie. That's how he read for it. And Coppola was like, "There's no way else. I'm not making this movie if this guy's not in it." And they finally relented, and we got the greatest movie of all time.
Nice. No, that's some interesting stuff right there. But yeah, we see what is this going on here. So, by the way, for those who may or not know, Steve Faraci is pretty much the Kevin Feige of pop culture pros. If you don't know who Kevin Feige is, I'm kind of shocked you're watching the show, but that's who it is. So this is kind of like Ed going to bat for you guys. I hope you have several RDJs here. Steve, Steve, definitely. We absolutely do.
Jason,
I'm more of a Paul Bettany.
No, I'm more of a Sam Wilson, but Jason, he's got a shot at being Robert Downey Jr. I don't know about me, but like I said, the MCU, we could wax poetic about this thing for like the next 50 episodes if we wanted to. True. But let's get it rolling. Let's go ahead and jump into our news of the week, which is going to be a segment we're going to kick off a lot with. But warning in advance. All right, so what we're going to do on our page and we're going to do on our show is we're going to, there's a lot of sites and things out there that kind of you got to take with a grain of salt. It is the internet. We get that. And we're not going to pass on things such as items from We Got This Covered, which is not. I'm sorry. They're like the worst ever. And just going to honestly, though, just not to rag on them all day, but it's just going to be a kind of thing we're going to vet the sources, like Variety or Deadline or something like that, or like comicbook.com is also another great site that seem to get a lot of things right, comingsoon.net. So we're going to kind of go off their stories. And those are the ones that we're going to discuss.
I have a question then. This is very embarrassing, but so do you mean to tell me that Deadpool 3 will not be introducing one of the secret Infinity Stones, which is the news article I pulled from We Got This Covered to bring to you guys, but you just told me I can't go by them. But
wait, whoa. Repeat that? Can you repeat that for me, please?
Deadpool 3 could introduce one of the Infinity Stones. It's possible. It's out
Interesting. There. That is fascinating.
Wow.
I gotta be honest. Maybe they got it right.
Speechless. I'm speechless. That's I never thought of that.
Wow. According to sources, because I did read this article.
Sources. Wow.
According to sources, Deadpool did in fact steal an Infinity Stone once in the comic from Thanos and use it to settle an old grudge, and that is what they are basing this on. So very well, it could happen.
Wow.
Jason, I think you're giving them credit for basing it on something.
Well, I don't know. That's what
wait,
I'm
guys, hold on 1 second. What'd you say? Oh, my source here just told me that Deadpool could actually steal an airline plane in Deadpool 3 and fly across the country with it and crash it into the Pacific Ocean. My source just told me that. This guy right over here. So make sure. Can you just go and give them a call over at and maybe they'll write a whole article on that.
I'm going to quote Marlon Brando if you're okay with that.
My source, my source. Got anonymity is key, bro. Anonymity is key.
I think Deadpool is going to be able to steal a jet fighter.
There you go.
I'll work on it.
You got to work on that, pal. We got to work on it.
That's right. Well, so while Jason's working on his Godfather, for later on in the episode, let's jump into our first topic of business in our news section. So, apparently, Zack Snyder himself, via his Vero account, confirmed that his version of Justice League will be released on HBO Max this March as a 4-hour film. It was originally revealed as DC Fandom back in August that it would be released as a 4-part miniseries, pretty much in like 1-hour episodes. It reportedly cost Warner Brothers over $70 million for Snyder to finish his version of Justice League. The original post-production crew is expected to return, as well as various cast members. And Jared Leto's Joker, though, will be added into this cut. And Harry Lennox, who played, what was the general again?
General Swanwick.
General Swanwick?
Swanwick.
Okay, Swanwick. Apparently, that actor went ahead and confirmed that he is actually Martian Manhunter in the film, which was a long, fanboy casting, thing that was being bounced around. And I'm sure We Got This Covered probably reported that many years ago. So maybe they did scoop us. as well will be added to this version of the Snyder Cut. So, where are you guys at in your excitement for the Snyder Cut? I mean, as I do got a feeling I know what I'm going to get from Tony right now, but like, where are you at with your excitement for the Snyder Cut dropping on HBO Max in March?
Oh, I'm ecstatic, bro. I mean, this is exactly. I went to a little background here. Ed and I went and stood in front of the what was it, the Lowe's on 42nd Street in Manhattan to get to into the Justice League premiere. Mm-hmm. And we went in and we saw it, and we were like, okay, not bad. It didn't hold up obviously afterwards, and then after you started to hear the rumors of what Zack Snyder had actually put in, and the fact that the movie had totally been changed, and so on and so forth, we got angry. I got angry because that was the stuff I wanted to see. I wanted to see Darkseid. I wanted to, I wanted that story, and what we got was completely different than what Snyder had originally had planned for the film. And so when the whole release the Snyder Cut thing, we had conversations about this, and I said, why wouldn't Warner Brothers do it? If people want to see it, and it was like, there's no way, they're never going to admit their mistake, so on and so forth. We had conversation after conversation. I had put it in my head it was never going to happen. For them to come back and say that they were going to make this movie and put $70 million into it, which, if I'm not mistaken, is only slightly less than what the movie made originally when it was in theaters. So for them to put that much money into it and literally let Snyder, which really the whole problem with with Zack Snyder in DC is that they never really fully trusted him. So they never let him make the films that he really wanted to make, which is what we saw with Batman vs Superman, why we got such a chopped up version, because they saw what he had. They didn't like how long it was. They didn't like this or that or whatever. So they just cut out what they didn't want, and they trimmed it. And that's why you got such a disjointed story, because his actual story wasn't in there. When we got to see the full story, it was great. I think that he's going to have the opportunity to make his film. He's going to put everything, obviously 4 hours, he's putting everything, and anything he wanted, even on his dream wish list, is going to end up being in this movie now. But I think that this movie is going to be great. I'm excited about it. The Martian Manhunter thing, which we've been talking about, we've been seeing online, and it's been rumored for years, is going to be an unbelievable add to this thing. And the reason why that was online, and I don't know if you guys noticed, that they actually had set photos of General Swanwick with those motion captures with the X on his chest. So people were like, that's got to be Martian Manhunter, and no one ever confirmed it. And it turned out, and I think it was Batman vs Superman. I don't even think it was Justice League. I think it was before that. And now we got confirmation that he is the Martian Manhunter, and he is going to be in this movie, which is phenomenal. So I'm very, very excited for it. I really am.
Nice. Jason, where are you at for the Snyder Cut?
Very, very different. So for me as a DC EU person, I am just not a big fan of the Snyder stuff. We'll get to that when we talk about our rankings later on. We're going to talk about it, but I'm not a big fan of Zack Snyder. I hope this is successful. I hope this is good. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to go in with it. I am actually a bit more excited now that I know Martian Manhunter is involved, because I am actually a big fan of Martian Manhunter in the comic book, and I'm very happy to actually see him outside of. I know he was in Supergirl, right? But he played. But I'm excited to see him actually enter the DCEU. But I remain skeptical about it for a couple of reasons. One, I'm not a big fan of Zack Snyder's movie. Even the director's cut of Batman vs Superman. This is a conversation, Ed, you and I have had a ton of times. Like, it changed things for you. I don't really feel, for me, it didn't really change my viewing of the movie. It didn't add much for me. It didn't resolve the issues I had with the original movie. So I'm hoping that Zack Snyder is someone who needs to work in this long 4-hour thing for it to really be fleshed out. And maybe it was something that they should have just said, hey, Zack Snyder, we're going to give you a mini series to start our whatever we're doing here, and maybe that would have been better served. And maybe that's what we're going to get here with Justice League, since it is so long and he's able to really pull these intricacies in. But I remain skeptical because I'm just not a big fan of the Snyder movies.
Okay, I mean, and that's completely fair. I mean, obviously, film. Listen, guys, film is what it is, right? Like, it's all subjective. We all get whatever we get out of it. Some on this panel right here, while we do our rankings and we talk about these things, we're gonna have totally different reactions to it. I'm super excited for it. I'm glad to see that. I mean, the whole, we've said it, we've joked about it. I'm sure all of us that the biggest villain in the DCU isn't Darkseid. It's actually the Warner Brothers executives, whoever's in charge at the time, because they seem to take down Batman, Superman, and a Justice League member better than Darkseid ever could. So, I think that's why they've gotten the unfair shake with a lot of things. So I'm really excited to see what he's able to do. The fact that we're getting a 4-hour film tells me right off the bat we're going to get a lot of new material, a lot of new stuff. I mean, it's literally double the size of the theatrical cut that we got back, which was 2 hours mandated by Warner Brothers Suits because they wanted to get more screenings in, and they also rushed the project along. So I can't remember the head of Warner Brothers Films at the time, his name. He's not there anymore. He got canned. But he went ahead and told them, listen, this movie needs to get out by the end of the year because I need to get my bonus. Not even a joke, not even a thing. Like, legitimately, that was the reason.
Wasn't it Noah Emmerich?
Possibly.
I think it was Noah Emmerich, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
so the story goes that he pushed the movie out and was like, hey, get this damn thing out, and that's it. And it kind of showed. As much as, like, when Tony mentioned that we saw Justice League at the premiere like a week or two in advance or whatever the heck it was, we were excited because we just got to see the characters together on the same screen. But then once you sat back and rewatched it and like thought about it and you calmed down a little bit, it all fell apart. You're like, what the hell is this? But there were certain things that were cringeworthy immediately, like weird green screens and things like that, and like the whole bizarre thing where why is Wonder Woman and Bruce and everyone so worried about Clark coming back to life when they were all BFFs taking down Doomsday together when he died? Did they forget that happened? Like, it was just really strange. Yeah, I don't know. It was really bizarre. Regarding Zack Snyder as a filmmaker, though, thinking back on it, though, I skipped Sucker Punch because I know everyone hates that one, and I had no interest because I think it just looks like shit. But his Dawn of the Dead remake, I think, is better than the original. Which I know you're a horror guy, but too, Jason, I actually love it. I love his remake.
No, I'm going to say I'm going to give Zack Snyder, I think, my two favorite movies of his, and I really enjoy these movies, are the Dawn of the Dead and and Watchmen. I think he does take flack for his Watchmen adaptation, but I think that is largely a book that is nearly impossible to adapt in its entirety. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he slavishly did all of this work just as a fan to try to do that, I think Watchmen is a fantastic Zack Snyder movie, and I think Dawn of the Dead, Sucker Punch. I've actually sat down and watched Sucker Punch 4 times, and I get 10 minutes in and I just can't do it. And I know he did 300, right? So 300 is one of those movies I saw in the theaters. I really enjoyed, but I don't feel the need to watch it again. So that's kind of my relationship with it.
Yeah, I mean, I like Dawn of the Dead. I liked Watchmen. I didn't see every cut of it, but I hear there's also like their Ultimate Edition is really good too.
I have it.
Do you?
Yeah.
All right. No, I was honestly, Tony, I'm kind of shocked because I know you're not a big horror guy, but that's awesome. But yeah, I didn't. No, I'm sorry, Watchmen. I was thinking Dawn of the Dead. Blah blah blah.
Yeah. No, I'm not a horror guy, but I do have the Ultimate Edition of Watchmen. Not that I've ever watched it, but I do have it. So I mean, when we review it, I'll make sure I watch it. But we
will get to that one day. We will get to that one. But I'm a fan of Man of Steel, and I like the Ultimate Edition of Batman versus Superman. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious to see what he's going to do with Justice League. Jason, did you have a chance to, or either one of you guys, did you check out Watchmen, that HBO series?
I just got access to HBO. I just subscribed.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
So I will be going back. I'll be honest. I usually avoid stuff that is Watchmen branded outside of the movie because I know Alan Moore's a crazy man who does not ever want anything to sequels or anything, but he will still sell you anything he's written. So it's this dichotomy. But so I kind of try to not go into like sequels of his work or stuff like that. But I heard that the show was really smart and really worth checking out. So it's one of the things I'm really excited to get into now that I have HBO.
Yeah, I would highly recommend it if someone hasn't watched it. I mean, sorry, Tony, did you check it out?
No, I didn't. I was never really a fan of The Watchmen. The only reason why I bought the movie was that I was so impressed with Man of Steel that I said I want to see more of what he's done. So I picked up Watchmen, and I just never watched it. But I was never into it. But again, I heard the same thing Jason did, that it was really well done. It was a very good show. I never actually got back to go back and watch it. But it is something that I'll definitely, now obviously that we're doing this, I'll definitely go back and check it out.
Yeah, that's something I would highly recommend to anyone out there who's read the Watchmen comic. If you read the graphic novel or anything, so the show is kind of like a sequel, a quasi sequel to the movie and to the comic, because there's a big difference. So anyone who hasn't seen Watchmen, I won't spoil the ending, but there's a big difference between the ending in the comic and in the movie, and they choose one over the other, and they kind of pick pieces of both to go into. But the series is phenomenal. I heard it was just going to be. The creator intended it as a one-off, so we're probably not getting a season 2. But I know HBO probably wants that because they know people loved it. So, we'll see what happens with that as time goes on. All right, so let's move on to the next order of business and some brief CW verse updates. So within the CW verse, was announced earlier today that The Flash will be returning for their season 7. But they're going to have their debut is going to be on March 2nd rather than the original February 23rd date, which was originally planned. Superman and Lois will hold its debut date on February 23rd with a 90-minute series premiere, followed by a 30-minute special called Superman and Lois: Legacy of Hope. The special will feature sneak peeks at the upcoming season, interviews with the cast, and superfans weighing in on the impact of the characters. They will not have us on that, unfortunately, but I'm sure we'll talk about it when that time comes. All right, so Tony, you can start us off with it. I mean, I know full disclosure, I know you haven't dived into the CW verse too much yet, but are you excited for the fact that we're getting a new Superman show?
No.
No. Okay. That's fine. You don't have to.
No, I'll explain.
No, go ahead.
I love Henry Cavill as Superman, and when you have, for me at least, when you have different universes where you have a Superman here and a Superman there and a Superman there, I don't love that. I understand the multiverse. The Crisis on Infinite Earth was very well done. I'm looking forward to see what Marvel does. Obviously, more with WandaVision, and then going into Doctor Strange and into Spider-Man 3. So I'm very excited for that. I enjoyed Spider-Man into the multiverse. The Spider-Verse. I loved that, but when it comes to Superman, I don't know what it is, but I'm so locked in on a character. For me, Christopher Reeve was always Superman, and then Henry Cavill came along, and I was like, dude, this guy has got it. I love what he did with it. So anybody else playing the part, I always look at it, and it doesn't do anything for me. So it's not a knock on whether it would be a good show or not. I know that Taylor Hockney has played Superman before. It's just not something that I absolutely love.
Okay. Jason, where are you at with your excitement level for this? I know Flash season 7 is being delayed. That's not a big deal because they want to get Superman a limelight, but how do you feel about it?
I mean, I'm not super excited, and it's like Tony said, it's nothing really to do with. I didn't even know the show was happening until you told me about it, because I went through a period with the CW verse where I was super all in. Like when Arrow started and when the Flash started, I spent a long time watching those shows and catching up, and then I just got to a point in the CW verse where I was just like, all right, it's just not for me anymore. I think I'm just kind of done with it. And that's kind of where I am now. And Superman, full disclosure, Superman's probably my least favorite superhero.
Okay.
So, it's not a knock against him. I mean, he's great. He's Superman. He built DC, right? But he just doesn't interest me. So, I'm just not interested. I'll watch it and I'll check it out because I think it could be cool. But it's just not something that really draws me and that I'm really super excited about.
And I do love, I don't know if it was the pun intended or not, of the super excited or not super excited.
Well,
that is great.
In my language, it means hope.
I like it. Well played.
Well done.
So I mean, I know I'm the guy out of us I've seen every moment of the CW verse to this point. As far as Superman goes, it's been a mixed bag how they've handled him so far. Because like the interpretation of him, I guess for the most part, was cool. Like we got him, and he was, you could tell like, I'm sorry, Taylor, is it Hodgkin or I'm going to butcher his last
Taylor Hockner, I think his name is.
Yeah. So he's done a great job with it. Honestly, he didn't look the part. I thought it was just like a bootleg Superman kind of like. I guess it's because of the 5 o'clock shadow maybe he had at times in some of the promo pictures, and that's not really a Superman thing. But then it could be worse. I mean, he could have had a mustache and another
or something that looked like this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hello, it is I, Superman.
I would have preferred he had the damn mustache. But
I would have preferred him just go like this, like, well, no, there's no mustache here. I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. No way, Batman. No, but like it's been a mixed bag though, because then it kind of just looked, when they started using the characters, he was introduced on Supergirl. He's cool. He's there. They're fighting. Him and Kara Danvers are fighting together, and then they kind of just used him as like, for wrestling terms, as a jobber. Like he was almost there to kind of like. They almost used him to put him down to elevate Supergirl at times. I'm sorry, I know John Campea, who will probably never see the show in his life. Like he kind of coined that term, and I thought it was a perfect way to describe it. It's true. Like they almost felt like they had to like push down Superman to elevate Supergirl. Like you're the greatest ever. You're the real hero of the planet and stuff like that. And then then he was like mind possessed. And then they fought at one point, and obviously Supergirl beat him and everything. And then, I mean, listen, it's better than what they did in the first season of Supergirl. In the first season, he was mentioned. Jimmy Olsen took a picture of him from a distance, and you couldn't see the face. And it was the boots where you saw at one point. Like, it was ridiculous. And
I watched that season. It was terrible. That aspect was terrible. I like that season, but how they handled Superman was terrible.
It was absurd. And, like, when I heard they were casting him in season 2, I'm like, listen, whatever. Maybe he's the discount store Superman, whatever. I didn't care. At least we were freaking getting a Superman. But, I think the guy does a good job with it. So and in Crisis 2, and in Crisis Infinite Earths last year, they did a really cool thing with him where they had him fight Brandon Roth's Superman in a whole multiverse battle and stuff like that, which was honestly incredible. I mean, I was mostly excited for Brandon Routh to get to redeem his Superman from Superman Returns, because he kind of got the shit end of the stick too. And he was like the Kingdom Come Superman, though. They changed the logo. Yeah, he did. He got the shit end of the stick with that, man.
No, he did. They just basically, it's like, you know what? That just never happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Never happened. Just go away.
But we have another role for you. What was his role in Legends of Tomorrow?
Oh, he's Adam.
The Atom.
Right. Yeah, he's the Atom. Which is great.
You could be the Atom.
Exactly, but it's like, no, you're not. But he got to be Superman and stuff, and the end of Crisis, at the end of it, he does the whole flyover, like Christopher Reeve wink and everything, which I thought it was almost warming my heart to know that he got to redeem his Superman. Mm. But Taylor Hodgkin again though, was kind of overshined by the fact that was getting redeemed. So he keeps getting he is the Brooklyn Brawler or the Brooklyn Brawler Superman or something like that. Jason's laughing because we all know we liked our wrestling at one point. But that's a perfect way to put it. It sucks, but I'm looking forward to it because I'm curious to see what they do with it. Where they go from here with it. So hopefully, it's a redeeming quality for that Superman. And plus, also we know that there's no Superman really in the works at the DCU, so we're going to kind of take whatever Superman that we can get at this time.
And hopefully, this is good.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Jason, why don't you check out We Got Discovered and see if there's anything on Superman in there.
I'll check it out. I'll check my Prime News source right now.
Yeah, check it out and see if they have anything, because that could be breaking news and we don't even know it yet. So
that could be that. Wait! I got something. Supermutt may or may not be in this show.
Wow.
Oh, we're gonna. Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because the next real story is about Savannah Wilts joining the cast of Titans as Barbara Gordon. Now we'll get when Titans drops when they drop their season 3 on HBO Max, because they were on DC Universe at one point and they moved everything over. to HBO Max now, since they're the golden child of Warner Brothers. We're going to have Barbara Gordon. So pretty much the quote, this is from the report. In season 3, Gordon is Gotham City Police Commissioner. So Barbara Gordon is going to be Commissioner Gordon, essentially 2.0 in the Titans universe. She used to be Batgirl, and she was shot and paralyzed by the Joker, which we're all familiar with that storyline, leaving her wheelchair bound. She has a combative relationship with Bruce Wayne. Her life gets more complicated when Dick Grayson returns to Gotham, rekindling their old romance and starting a new crime-fighting partnership. So, what do we get from that? So, I guess I know you guys haven't a chance to get into Titans yet, but for those who do watch it, it is a fantastic show. I jumped on board when it got to HBO Max during quarantine. I binged the seasons, absolutely love it. I'm all in. Seems like most people on that show have a combative relationship with Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne's not a good guy. Like, I love Batman, but if I would not be friends with real life Bruce Wayne.
Well, that's why nobody's friends with real life Bruce Wayne.
Well,
because
that's it.
Bruce Wayne doesn't like to have friends.
Everyone's combative with Bruce Wayne.
It's him and Alfred. That's all.
And Alfred's just his English daddy. That's not even his friend.
Point taken. He's the only person he listens to.
Absolutely.
This is true. So, I mean, Alfred does wield some serious power in the DC universe when you really think about it.
He's Batman's chancellor.
Exactly.
He's Batman's conscience. There you go.
Yeah, that's very good way to put it.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess it's pretty cool that they're keeping some of the stuff from A Killing Joke, where she goes ahead and like the whole situation with the Joker, shooting Barbara, putting her, paralyzing her, and then the other stuff happened and things like that. We'll keep it clean forever. There's some suggestive stuff that goes on there that's pretty messed up. Yeah, exactly. And they do keep that background, which is kind of does fall in line with Titans, because Titans is really kind of like an R-rated show. There's a lot of cursing. There's a lot of violence on it. Yeah, I know. I saw Tony's eyes, I think, lit up a little bit. He's like, yes, I'm in now. So
now I'm watching it. Now
he's like, I'm watching it right after the show.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're getting with that. I think it's really cool that they're doing that. They're doing their own spin on it. I guess they're going to make her and Dick Grayson, who at this point in Titans on season 3, he is Nightwing already. Like he's got the mantle of Nightwing. So he's going to be going back to Gotham and doing that. Where are you guys at with this kind of a story? I mean, I know you haven't watched Titans yet, but like, is it cool? Is it exciting for when you're hearing about it that, they're keeping more like the adaptation level of a beloved story in there?
I'll tell you something. You just describing this, I'm going to start watching it tonight. Like you've made me very excited because, again, I'm a Batman guy. I'm a huge Batman guy, and you just told me something I needed to hear. Bruce Wayne is in it. Because when you take Bruce Wayne out of a Batman story, that's when you lose me. But also Dick Grayson. I love Dick Grayson. I love Nightwing. I'm excited that Barbara Gordon is involved. I love the character of Barbara Gordon before the wheelchair and after her as Oracle. Has some great stuff, in particular in not Cataclysm, but No Man's Land. She is such a great presence in all of those No Man's Land stories that are together. So the fact that the way you just described it, and again, I just got HBO Max, so I have access to it. It is now like I've bumped it to the top of my list because that sounds really cool. Nice.
I know Tim got into it. He's been watching Titans. I'm sure he'll probably jump on at some points with us too, maybe to discuss some Titans. But so Tony, where are you at with this?
Yeah, look, I've heard that it's a more adult driven DC. I mean, look, DC is always seems to be more adult driven because the stories, the darkness behind it, everyone, all of the origin stories seem to be of more. I guess more sunny than not as sunny as the Marvel stories are. But I love Nightwing. I love I love the Barbara Gordon story. I like the fact that they're following along with The Killing Joke. So yeah, I mean it's always sounded something. It's always sounded something that I'd be interested in. And now again with HBO Max, I think that's definitely a show that I got to catch up on before the new season drops.
Yeah, and I think I know they also announced that because Tim Drake is also in the show. And
yeah, I heard that the Red Hood is going to be in the new season, which sounds fantastic.
Yeah, he's going to be Red Hood by the time that rolls around. So, you know, and again, not going to dig to too many, but yes, Tim Drake is in the show. They do take some. It's interesting since you guys. I know Jason. I know you're familiar with Tim Drake's fate in the comics and in a storyline. So it's interesting when you watch Titans, you're going to see them allude to certain things. They're going to still like get you to. There's going to be a lot of screwing with people who knew about that stuff, and I thought that was great. And Deathstroke is in season 2 also, by the way, and fantastic. Like he actually became my favorite Deathstroke. Like after watching that, yes, and I love the Deathstroke from Arrow, but
yeah, I do too.
Yeah, it's a slightly different spin on it, but it's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
And now, aren't we supposed to get not to go back to Justice League, but aren't we supposed to get Joe Manganiello in Justice League as well, right?
Yeah, he's one of the people who's rumored to shoot some more stuff as Deathstroke. I didn't mention him as a new addition because technically he was in the other one in the post-credit scene.
Yes, he
so
was.
That's why he wasn't listed as that. But yeah, he was one of the actors who is reportedly. I mean, everyone seems to be reported in and out of that. Of some people shot things, some people didn't. Zack Snyder had 1,000 hours of footage to use anyway originally, so you know, whatever it is. What is this? Okay, hold on a second. Let's pop it up. Whoever Facebook user is, I mean, we can't really tell. I wish we could allude to you on whoever it is, but thanks for watching the show. Michael Chiklis is a great Deathstroke. Okay, I mean, why not? I'd watch it. I'd watch it too. I mean, shit.
Michael Chiklis was a great thing.
He was a good thing. I liked him as Thing.
Yeah, I did too. All right, so let's touch upon some more shows briefly. So let's get through some news here. So some casting updates. So Marvel Studios' upcoming Disney Plus shows have added some more talent for their upcoming shows. Ginger Gonzaga has joined She-Hulk, which we have coming our way on Disney Plus at some point. Ginger Gonzaga, I know I saw her on Space Force on Netflix, which I didn't love, but you know, she was for her role. I thought she was pretty good in that. Ethan Hawke and Rami Starr have joined the cast of Moon Knight, which is incredibly exciting, you know, to me because I've been waiting to see, you know, a Moon Knight adaptation, which I know some people will call the discount store Batman. You know, I think it's a little bit unfair because just kind of the way he looks. Where are you guys at with your excitement for the the Marvel Studios produced Disney Plus shows? Because the short version is the Netflix stuff was sort of MCU, but not. It wasn't. It was by Marvel Television and not Marvel Studios. So they're kind of like in limbo right now. Like, are they canon? Are they not? And then actually Jason and I both watched, name of the show on Freeform.
Oh, Cloak and Dagger.
Yes, wow. We watched Cloak and Dagger. We may have been some of the 15 people that did, but Jason's a big Cloak and Dagger guy.
I am.
So that was another show that alluded to the MCU, but not technically canon because Feige didn't oversee it. The only show that is considered, the two shows that are considered MCU canon officially right now are Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I really enjoyed, and Agent Carter. Those are the ones. Agent Carter, the one that kind of gets forgotten about completely. So that's really it. So we're getting actually official MCU canon shows. What show? I mean, are you familiar with any of the? I mean, besides Ethan Hawke, obviously, any of the other actresses? Are you excited for She-Hulk? Are you excited for Moon Knight?
I'll tell you something. I'm excited for She-Hulk and I'm excited for Moon Knight. Also Moonlighting, which is a new show I hear with Bruce Willis. But check your local listings. But I'm excited for Moon Knight.
Crazy.
Oh, she's wonderful. She's a brand new talent. You've never seen anything like her. Check out Taxi Driver, which came out last year. But anyway, I'm excited for Moon Knight and I'm excited for She-Hulk. And Ethan Hawke is the only person I know involved. But I'm excited because we are now in the phase of the MCU where I get to see characters I don't necessarily know much about from the comic book, and now it's my turn to experience things for the first time. So that I'm experiencing because I don't know anything about She-Hulk except she's Hulk's cousin and she's a lawyer, and I don't know anything about Moon Knight except sometimes he shows up in Spider-Man video games and he's pretty cool. That's it. So I'm excited for both of these.
Okay, and And Tony, where are you at with these two shows? Are you excited for these? Are you pumped?
Look, I mean, anything that has to do with Hulk, if some people be tearing shit up, I'm happy with that. So, I mean, She-Hulk sounds good. Moon Knight is an interesting one because it is an interesting kind of off the road kind of a character, and I think that they can have some fun with that. And if the casting is correct with Ethan Hawke joining as a villain, and if Oscar Isaac, which we discussed this afternoon, if he is or is not part of this project, would be fantastic because big fan of Oscar Isaac. So yeah, I mean, I think that would be great. And look, everyone was thinking, when Disney Plus came out and then they debuted The Mandalorian, and you got to see, how much money and how much time and how much everything that they put into how The Mandalorian looks. And we hadn't seen one of the MCU shows yet. And when WandaVision came, which we're going to talk about later, it's just visually spectacular. It's like you're watching an a Marvel movie. There's no difference between the two because it's so well done. It's visually stunning. It's excellent. So I have no doubt that these shows, even if the characters of because look, and quite frankly, when we were kids, did you know much about Guardians of the Galaxy? I know you knew them, but nobody really knew about Guardians of the Galaxy all that much. And then they come onto the scene and now everybody is a Groot and Rocket fan. So, I mean, Marvel can take anything, it seems to be at this point, and make it into something. So I have no doubt that these shows are going to be compelling, to say the least.
Listen, Jason knows the deal. Tony's heard it before. You'll hear it on his show, guys. Hashtag in Marvel we trust. That's where we're at with this. So MCU puts it out. I'm there. I'm watching it. I watched Hellstrom on Hulu, which was the last Marvel television series produced. So that just shows you to the extent that we're going to get at. I thought it was pretty cool actually because it was, it was a horror Marvel story, which I thought was kind of cool. But it's never going to see a second season. But She-Hulk's pretty cool. Yeah, it's Bruce Banner's cousin through a blood infusion, ends up passing it on the thing. But she's not really like, I know she goes back and forth, but it's like, sometimes she's like Rage, sometimes she's not, but she's mostly like herself 24/7, kind of like Professor Hulk that we got in Endgame. So it'll be interesting. And I know they're kind of spinning that as like a comedy type series in a way, which is kind of cool. Yeah, but Mark Ruffalo is supposed to be in that, and we're supposed to be getting Abomination.
Ooh.
Tim Roth
as
Abomination.
Tim Roth
coming back as Abomination.
They're going to dig him up.
Yes.
Dig him up.
Listen, Incredible Hulk. Underrated MCU film. Highly underrated MCU film. But super excited we're going to get that because they only referenced him in like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in passing one time, and that was about it. So the Abomination will get to get a little limelight soon.
Banner referenced it once, actually. He said the last time that he was in Harlem. Last time he was in New York, he broke Harlem. So that was the only time he mentioned it. But yes, he does.
But in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they literally do mention that he's locked up at a S.H.I.E.L.D. facility in like Antarctica or some crap like that.
That's right. I think I was still, because I watched about half of that show where I got close enough to the end. But I think I remember that because I'm actually a big fan, not of the Hulk movie, because I don't hate it. I'm just not a big fan of it. But I'm a big fan of Tim Roth's Abomination. Yeah. And I kind of wish, like, I know now we're going off tangent, but I wish they'd follow up with the leader. They set up the leader. I want to see the leader.
I think that's if we ever get that right situation straightened out between Universal and Marvel, that comes to the light of day, I think they definitely got to follow up on it. And the fact that Mark Ruffalo was still in the fold gives me hope that one day they can finally get back to that. And we're Tim Roth guys from Tarantino films. Oh yeah,
Mr. Orange.
Exactly. Like that's what I remember. The first I remember like hearing of Tim Roth. So if you tell me we get Tim Roth, then that's it.
That opening scene of Pulp Fiction with Tim Roth is
phenomenal.
One of the great. It was awesome.
Yeah. By the way, mysterious Facebook user is Bear.
I saw that. Yeah.
Showing undercover. So welcome, Bear. Super excited to have you. We do love you. Bear, Mike, who we ended up becoming Bear at one point. Like he went to high school with me and Jason. He's a huge comic book guy. He's the guy you may have referred to as Captain DC. Tony, like in my passings, he's the guy. So. He's maybe he heard the description. He knows Wonder Woman 84 is coming and our DCU ranking. So The Bear might lay into us later on, but we'll see what happens.
He also can physically transform into a bear. It's his mutant power.
Yes.
So we have to be very careful with how we talk about this.
This is absolutely correct. All right, so the next topic that we have coming up here is Charlie Cox, who we just mentioned in Daredevil, who played Matt Murdock there in the. We don't know if it's really happening or not with that, and there's a lot of mystery surrounding Spider-Man 3, which I put in quotations because it doesn't have an official title yet. That is supposedly he was seen on set, wrapped up his filming, and left. Everyone jumps to the conclusion immediately that he's going to be Matt Murdock, that we're going to get Daredevil, he's going to be kept in tow, which, please, Kevin Feige, if you ever hear this, please let this be the case. Because Daredevil is awesome. It's my favorite Marvel Netflix show that they did. And phenomenal character. Charlie Cox knocks it out of the park with it. The belief was that he's going to bring him in to be Peter Parker's lawyer. Because last we saw Peter in the MCU, he looks like he could kind of use a lawyer at the end of Far From Home. He was really, knee-deep in the shit right there. So, do you guys think that Charlie Cox is going to actually return as Matt Murdock Daredevil, or do you think he just happens to be in the movie, maybe playing Peter's lawyer, but not actually Matt Murdock, which I don't mean to pour cold water on the rumor, but he could just be in the movie.
I hope to God that he's Matt Murdock. He was phenomenal as Daredevil. He made me completely forget that other Daredevil movie. I can't remember the guy that was in that movie. That was a while ago.
Ooh, Batman.
Thank
Batman
you.
is Daredevil.
I tried to block it out. I've done a really decent job of that up until you mentioned that. So thanks so much.
That's what I'm here for.
I think it's great. I honestly, again, conversations that we've had over the course of the years were that we were hoping that they would eventually incorporate these, especially John Bernthal as Punisher and Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock. So I'm really hoping that that's the case. I'm not a coincidence guy. There's no way that Charlie Cox shows up in an MCU movie and he's not playing the character that he was when he was in the MCU movie. So honestly, I think that if he's in the movie, when there's, if there's smoke, there's fire. So I have to think that that's where they're going with that. Has to be.
I agree. I think the only way the MCU would tap Charlie Cox to be in this movie about multiverses. I want to put that out there. This is a movie about multiverses. The only way they would tap Charlie Cox and go, hey, can you be the stand-in A who's not playing Matt Murdock or Daredevil in this movie would be stupidity. Mm-hmm. And the MCU is not stupid. So I think at the very least, we're going to get Charlie Cox. I don't think he's going to be in the Daredevil suit. I don't think Daredevil's going to be involved. I think we're going to get Matt Murdock, and I think it's going to be an introduction to bringing Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock in the future. It's the only thing that makes sense. Why else would you tap that particular actor to be in your Spider-Man movie? Exactly.
And the other thing is that in Daredevil, they reference the Battle of New York. They don't specifically. They don't say it's specifically the Battle of New York, but they say the event. Yep. And they mention it. So already that the Avengers and Matt Murdock are in the same universe. They're in the same goddamn city. So, I mean, it's, honestly, I don't see how there's any way that they can't work this in. If they decided that they wanted to bring, Punisher and Murdock into the MCU, they could first of all, they could very easily do it. And second of all, those are the two characters I think that universally every Marvel fan wants to see continue as those characters.
And I think they gave us a sign of their intention at the end of Homecoming with J. Jonah Jameson, right? Mm-hmm. Because by putting, I'm forgetting, I always forget the guy's name. What's the actor's name? I'm sorry.
J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons. I just call him J. Jonah Jameson because his name is also very similar. But J.K. I mean, he is. But they could have recast that. They probably, like everyone else, would have recast it because that's the old. But the fact that they're going, no, if it's not broke, don't fix it. This guy was great. We're going to bring him in.
He was fine. And he's Commissioner Gordon in Justice League, so we're going to get plenty of him.
J.K. Simmons is phenomenal.
He's good in that. He's good in
everything.
Yes.
Yep.
He is. He's a great actor. He really is. He's one of my favorite, non-star, like just character kind of actors. He's
so good.
Everything that he's in, he's always memorable. Even those friggin' commercials he's in. What was it? What commercials he in? The insurance, farmers insurance. He's even good in the freaking commercials. Like the guy is everything that he's in. He's memorable in.
Did you guys see him in the Adam Sandberg Time Warp movie? The Palm Springs, I think it's called.
I didn't.
So it's on Hulu. He is talk about a super memorable like J.K. Rowling performance. I'm not going to talk about it.
J.K. Simmons.
No. The woman who wrote Harry Potter was
okay. It's like, are you mixing your J.K.
crossover event of the century?
Look.
I love it.
All right.
Sorry,
anyway,
bro.
No. It had to be done. But if you guys get a chance to check out that Sandberg movie, I think you're going to really enjoy Simmons' performance in it.
J.K. Simmons in The Lady Killers with Tom Hanks is absolutely memorable. If you have not seen the movie, is ridiculous, but his part in that movie is absolutely it's perfect. It really is.
J.K. Simmons could do no wrong with it. To me, he is J. Jonah Jameson. I know we talked about a lot of things, like when it was like, hey, when are they going to bring in J. Jonah Jameson into the MCU and stuff like that? And there were rumors. Kevin Bacon was rumored at one point that he was going to potentially be the new guy. And then the one thing I love that was an off the wall casting. If you've seen 21 Jump Street or 22 Jump Street, if you had a chance to see that, listen, they're hilarious. Honestly, those are two of the funniest movies I've seen in like the last 10, 20 years. They're phenomenal. Ice Cube is the captain in that movie.
He's the captain.
And people were pushing for him to be the next J. Jonah Jameson.
Can you imagine?
Because of his role, I know. Jason, I know. Ice Cube is J. Jonah Jameson. What world are we living in? But if you see him in the Jump Street movies, you will see it. You can see it happening right there. Okay. I would love it. No, he would be in there. He would be just screaming a bunch, and he plays the angry captain in that, and it's like a joke because the Jump Street movies are super self-aware, so they just run with it, and that's what I think that I thought we were going to get. But I'm not complaining that we got J.K. Simmons back at all.
No, I think it's the right move, and I think they're going to make the right move with Charlie Cox as well, and I think the Punisher as well. But unfortunately, I think those are the only two we're going to see. That's my prediction.
I agree. I don't think you're going to get Jessica Jones or Luke Cage.
Which is a shame because I think they're both great. But that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah. No, we'll get into discussing those too. I personally think that if Charlie Cox is Matt Murdock, and I agree, I don't think we're going to see him in a suit. I do think that I'm kind of convinced he's going to be Peter's lawyer, maybe for the first 5-10 minutes of the movie, and that'll be like an Easter egg and a nod to the audience, like, hey, it's that. And you can set him up for future stuff. But I personally think that if that happens, the Netflix universe is considered canon now. They're in the fold officially, because like Tony said, throughout all those shows, they reference the incident, the thing that happened. And actually, if you remember in season 1 of Daredevil, they say that that's how the events in the original Avengers is what set up and opened up this power vacuum for the Kingpin to rise to power.
Right.
So, but remember,
it's prominent, especially in those first couple of episodes. The incident, the incident is what they called it, which was the battle in New York, and it's referenced more than once. So it's definitely they've already set it up that the two coexist in the same universe. So to bring them over, and Feige, he has every step for the next 10 years probably is already planned out. So when those shows were on Netflix, he left the door open for the idea that eventually they could cross whatever they wanted into the universe. And which two characters make the most sense to cross into the MCU, not as main characters, but as those those auxiliary characters, and that's Murdoch and what's it called, and Frank Castle. So I mean, those I definitely could see the two of them, making appearances in the MCU.
And Bear's dropping a line from the Jump Street
Korean
movie.
Jesus. Yep, I cannot remember. Don't upset Korean Jesus.
Jason, that line alone should pique your interest and want to watch the Jump Street movies.
I've heard the movies were good. I have to watch them. I do have to sit down and watch them. The thing is, there's just so much to watch and so little time to watch it,
of course. So Bear's hitting us up with some stuff. There's a newspaper in the back with a few shots. It's true. Throughout in no, they don't call it the Daily Bugle. The Daily Bulletin, because they didn't have the rights to use the Daily Bugle at that point because Sony technically owns them. They were calling it the Daily Bulletin. There's shots from the Incredible Hulk in the back, like the incident in Harlem. Cool. Yeah, there's tons of Easter eggs and all the DC and all the Marvel Netflix stuff. So that's it. Bear also wants Danny Rand back. I know he loves Danny Rand. I think redeemable. Listen. I think he's redeemable in season 2 of Iron Fist. Season 1 was rough, but
okay. He's just not. He's not what I go to comics for. So like, truth be told, I love all those MCU shows except for Iron Fist.
And that's fair though. I totally understand it. I got through Iron Fist. I'm like, something. It's not my favorite, but whatever it is, it is. I watched it because it set up Defenders. But whatever, because I was super excited for Defenders because that was the culmination of their universes, their solo characters coming together. So you had to be all in on that. And let's get to the final news item. I mean, we are into it before we get into our three reviews of the week. Chris Evans is reportedly returning to the MCU. Now, notice who wrote Chris Evans returns to the MCU because I don't think he's going to be Captain America. He will be Steve Rogers, but I think he will be old man Steve Rogers as we last saw him in Avengers Endgame. I do not think he's coming back to take up the mantle. Yes, there's a precedence for this in the comics where he kind of gave up his abilities and then he aged out naturally and he kind of like hung around and was like the strategic. He kind of became the Nick Fury for the Avengers and was kind of like the strategic guy, wasn't really in the field, and then eventually he gets the super serum back and he's back to being good old Cap, swinging the shield and everything like that. And Sam Wilson, ends up turning it back over because, that's just, that's going to kind of be the thing in the comic books. So there's a precedence for that. That's where I think we're at. I do not think we're going to see him in Falcon and Winter Soldier because the time alignment doesn't really line up at all. It's in the reports, though, they're saying that they believe that he is going to act as RDJ did, as Iron Man, Tony Stark did in Homecoming, and in that kind of a nature where he's going to kind of be a secondary character, mentor type, and that's pretty much it. What do you guys think Chris Evans' role is going to be? And do you think it's going to be a great idea? Do you like the idea of Chris Evans coming back? Because he did get a great send-off in Avengers Endgame. Like his character arc pretty much concluded nicely. He got to, return he returned the Infinity Stones. He danced with Peggy. He finally got to be with her. He lived it out. We can discuss Endgame and that whole time travel theory because there's a lot of things that are, up in the air with that of what people believe it to be and what not to be. So do you think it's a good idea to get this character going? Or I'll throw this out there for you guys. Do you think it's going to be maybe they return the Marvel one-shots that they used to have on the Blu-rays? In the early days of the MCU, the Blu-rays used to have a Marvel one-shot where they would use that to fill the gaps, like with certain things. How awesome would it be?
The Mandarin, the most famous one-shot.
Oh, yes, that was a mistake that needed to be fixed up, and they kind of cleverly alluded to it. Mm-hmm. Or do you think maybe we get like a one-shot for Disney Plus with Cap returning the Infinity Stones? Because you damn well know we were all wondering what happens when he sees the Red Skull again. He had to see the Red Skull when he put back the Skull.
That's a very good point.
What was his reaction? I mean, Jason, like, where are you at with this whole thing?
So I mean, look, in Marvel we trust. Whatever they do, and I'm in for it. But if we're talking about like what I'd prefer, I don't want to see Chris Evans as Captain America again, because to do that, and I'm not saying I don't want Chris Evans to return to the MCU. I don't want to see him suiting up as Cap and being a main Captain America in anything in the MCU, because that negates that whole beautiful send-off we gave him. If we're just going to go, he's back. I think I saw, if all Facebook users are Bear here, then I agree with Bear when he says that it could either be an alternate universe type thing, which I'd be fine with. Like maybe they have to consult with an alternate universe Cap or face off against an alternate universe Cap at some point. Or even I honestly, my perfect thing is just him as Old Man Cap. I loved him in the Old Man Cap stuff. I thought that was a beautiful send-off. If you're going to bring Chris Evans back, do it in that respect instead of trying to force in a Captain America thing. But again, if you're going to do that alternate universe thing, because anything else cheapens what they did in Endgame.
I agree. No, that's definitely a fair point with that. I don't want them to see him just show up and grab his shield and be like, "Oh, I'm back. Let's go." Tony, where are you at?
I definitely don't think that they just give him the, he's going to just show up and be Captain America again, even partially in a film. Would I like them to do something where they could show what happened when he brought those stones back? I told you that could be a movie in itself. I would love that. That would make $1 billion if you make that movie, just about how he got everything back and how he ended up getting back to where he was at that point in time, where he went and found Peggy, when he explained to her everything I would love to see that. But I don't think that that's what we're going to get. I would have to agree that I think that this is going to be part of the multiverse, that you do see him as Captain America, but you see him as an alternate. So you have the Captain America that we have, and then a Captain America, the Steve Rogers or Captain America from another multiverse, from another part of the multiverse. So I have to think that that's the way that they do it. Could it be a council kind of a thing? Could he be Old Man Steve and Captain America in the same movie, only part of the different verses? Absolutely, he possibly could. But I don't think you see him anything. Because they're doing the multiverse in Doctor Strange and in Spider-Man 3, they could do anything they want at this point. And pretty much when you see the people that are floating, the names that are floating in and out of these movies, they are doing everything. It just seems like anything, anybody or anything. We've seen Andrew Garfield, we've seen Tobey Maguire, we've seen who else have we seen? We from the original Alfred Molina. You're talking about everybody from any of these movies all being sucked in to this. Everyone's being rumored to be into Spider-Man 3. So could it possibly be that they're bringing him back to have some type of role in that, where he's not actually Captain America, but you get to see him as Captain America again? Sure. Absolutely. But I can't see it being any other way. There's no way that they went to the extent that they did in Endgame to give him the story that they did, to give him the ending that they give, and then to have him hand off the shield, to have a whole series about where the shield is going in Falcon and Winter Soldier. I can't see that being the case. So it's got to be just a part role in a film, or maybe, as you said, maybe like an advisor kind of a thing, or a mentor to whoever ends up with the shield, if it is Bucky or if it's Sam. It depends upon, I guess they're trying to sow some doubt into who's getting it at this point.
Yeah.
But I think that that's the way that they go with it.
Brief thing though before we continue, because I could see that it's going in our comment section. So the boss man has passed on to me. I didn't get a chance to look at my phone, but Facebook user, they have to click in the description and authorize the StreamYard app. So that's pretty much what you're gonna have to do. That's what you're gonna have to do to get your names up there, because that's why some of those are popping up, because we cannot see whose names are popping in these things. I wish we could, so we can shout you guys out for that. We appreciate you guys watching the show. We can go ahead. Another user, maybe, I don't know. If I have that, everyone loves Raymond.
A little bit.
Why not? I'm good with that. It's not that bad of a deal.
I get the Kevin James thing a lot, so why not? I mean,
hey, we might have a CBS sitcom going here about comic book shows. I mean, who the hell knows?
I'm free, so they can call me whenever they're ready.
Yeah, exactly. So we got other people chiming in about they think, Secret Wars is what a lot of people believe is going to be the next big adaptation for the MCU. Since there's got to be a big bad, and we all know that it's going to be centered around some sort of connected story that's going to go on. It's going to get everyone back together at some point. We know we're going to get more Avengers movies, so they're going to have to come by to do something. I'm all in on Secret Wars. Tony's heard me rambling about Secret Wars for a while. I thought we were going to get it even sooner.
Mm-hmm. The Russos have been talking about it too. So
yeah. So again, smoke is fire. We get it. And I think it's kind of funny that comic book people thinking characters returning after death cheapens their early deaths. Like, it isn't part of the method comics. Listen, I'm gonna quote Bear from many years ago, and we've used this amongst the three of us. The only people that really stay dead in the comics are Uncle Ben and Bruce Wayne's parents.
That's
Otherwise,
true.
everyone's up for grabs.
And they just die
That's true.
repeatedly. And they just keep dying
Exactly.
over and over and over again.
Exactly.
And
But
I wanted to clarify. I don't think that at all. I think in this particular case, I think in the case of Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr., with the care Endgame took to give them a send-off, it would cheapen what the Endgame did. Look, when Vision walks back into the regular MCU somehow, I'm not going to complain. That's fine.
No,
I think
he's coming back. You know,
it's
he's coming back.
It's absolutely a comic book thing. I just think when a movie takes time to send someone off and then they automatically come back right away, that's what I'm talking about. So just to clarify.
And Vision's a machine also. So, I mean, technically, then someone could rebuild him. I mean, Bruce Banner built him originally. So
right. But but a lot of those characters I don't mind. Like Gamora came back within Endgame, kind of. And I had no problem with that. So I just want to be clear that it's the intent and the way the character is handled that I had questions about.
But I also think this is a situation where this is where comics and movies are different. Like, the MCU does take, inspiration from comic book storylines, but they don't do it exact. They do change things up. And this is where I think this is a situation where it could be a little bit different from the comics in that aspect. But I also, I'm not upset by any stretch. I just threw the option out there that doesn't cheapen the death. I do not think. Also, Captain didn't die. Cap's an old guy. He's still alive. So we're not cheapening anything.
He's not dead. That's true. He's not dead.
Again, I'm just saying I don't think he should become Captain America again. That's all I'm saying. No, I actually said I want to see him back in some capacity, just not in a main capacity.
Yeah, and with the multiverse coming around, all the options are all over the place. Who the hell knows? He might come back as Hydra Cap. Maybe they find out that Hydra Cap is a thing.
Look, not for nothing, but he didn't give up his powers. Like he just is old. He probably is still stronger than most of the other Avengers because he's just old. So I mean, I don't. That's a possibility. I'd love to see old Cap whip that shit across the screen. That'd be pretty funny.
My hip.
Jason, just to say, just the cheapening of the deaths. How great is Endgame that you have an unbelievable death in the first 15 minutes of the film where Thanos gets his head cut off, and then he's back in the same goddamn movie, and you're like, God, he's back! I can't wait to see this. So you can't cheapen the death. The guy died twice in the same film. I mean, that was good. That was just goes to show you the greatness of the film itself.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of things, that can be thrown out there and stuff like that. Lots of possibilities. Let's get a couple more of the comments quick before we move on to our review section. All right, we got a name here.
I feel attacked, Terrence.
There you go.
Terrence, everyone is allowed to disagree with me but you.
Another one, it's true. Old Cap Deadpool team up in the comic is funny. Deadpool is in play now too. I mean, it was a little bit of an older story, but like Kevin Feige did confirm that Deadpool 3 will be in the MCU. So
and rated R.
And rated R. So who the hell knows what we're getting? He might be coming back to do that because Chris Evans has an R-rated background in comedy and stuff like that. Who the hell knows what we're gonna see? Then one more comment before we move on. They also do de-age characters in the same way they accidentally de-aged Ant-Man in Endgame. They were trying to perfect time travel. So there is that aspect as well. So I think our consensus is we're super excited to have Chris Evans back. You can't go wrong with that. He's one of the best guys in their roles. Him and RDJ, or all of them, honestly, though, are just. It's hard to imagine any of the main characters getting recasted at this point. No, we're going to see RDJ in whenever Black Widow finally comes out. So yeah, I know that's what I'm throwing around there too. Yeah, he does have a 2-minute. I think he has a 2-minute scene in that. So yeah. So let's move on let's do our first review, guys. Let's get into it. I mean, man, I just checked out the runtime quick, and I'm loving it. We're still got plenty to go here.
We're going.
This first episode is going to be that annual, You know, when you used to get the annual every year and it was like 10 times the size of the original show? That's where we're going to go with this. Our premiere is going to be that.
Next week's going to be like 15 minutes.
Yeah, we're going to be like, yo, WandaVision was cool. All right, I'm out.
Yeah. If anyone is going to be like that, it might be this one. So
yeah, exactly. All right, so we're gonna talk. Let's talk about some Batwoman. Season 2 premiered last Sunday on the CW for the CW verse. It's the only show going right now, which I kind of appreciate the fact that they're not running all their shows simultaneously like they tend to. Pain in the butt to keep up with. One at a time is pretty cool. Listen, before we get into the whole deep dive of whatever dive we're going to do for the episode, Batwoman personally has been my least favorite of the CW shows. I kind of think that, like, as much as I appreciate a lot of the things that they are doing, you know, for not the first female lead, but you know, the first, like, you know, lesbian lead on a show and everything like that, I think that was really cool. They kept that from the comics and stuff like that. And it's been, you know, representation is pretty awesome with that. But I just think judging the show on its own merits, though, like, it just seems, the show just kind of seems like it's always kind of tried really hard. Like, it's trying too hard to do things. And, you know, you establish Kate Kane as Bruce Wayne's cousin. You know, they have the whole, yes, I know. Jason's going to be, like, frothing at the mouth to get to this one now. Because we're talking Batman now. Or in a way. Yeah, so pretty much the short version for season 1 is that they established Kate Kane as Bruce Wayne's cousin. The thing that drives me completely bonkers, though, is that so Bruce Wayne or Batman tried to save Kate Kane's mother like from a car dipping over a bridge, and then like couldn't quite save her in time. So she has this grudge against Batman and doesn't know that that's her cousin and stuff like that. But then we fast forward to modern time, and Bruce Wayne and Batman, both of them, are missing for 3 years. And spoiler alert, for those who have not seen season 1, that's still unresolved. We still have no clue where Batman or Bruce Wayne has been for 3 years. He just left and vanished, and that's it. So his disappearance causes the rise of this like security unit called the Crows that rises up to help protect Gotham, because Gotham's unprotected, and we know that Gotham's a bad place. So the Crows are protecting it. They need, you know, they're doing their thing. Kate's father is the head of the Crows. He runs the whole thing, and you know, there's a whole training school, and they're, you know, Kate and her girlfriend, I think it's Sophie, they're going ahead and training in the academy. I know. Her father finds out about it, boots them out of the academy. They're not all about it. And then Kate is just kind of there. Oh, sorry. She goes and gets training. She disappears for a while. She returns back, kind of like a certain other person who would wear a suit one day as well. And she's just there. Her sister, who was also in the car thing, kind of was deemed as dead. And she goes ahead and ends up being found by some dude and his son. And the guy is just like a real asshole, mistreating her, and, you know, puts her through all this crap for years. And she eventually escapes, and she's crazy, and she hates her family because she feels that they left her. You know, that they never came looking for her, and all this other stuff. She ends up becoming the villain Alice, who's a play on the Alice in Wonderland. She has the Wonderland gang, and she's kind of like Kate's Joker, if you want to say, you know, if that's what she is. So season 1 goes along. They introduce Hush at the end of the first season, which is there too, kind of, you know, botched and everything like that. So it's, I thought season 1 was pretty clunky, but the, you know, W2F, where is Bruce Wayne thing was a big thing that pissed me off. Jason, where were you at for season 1? I know you're still watching it. Where were you at for season 1? Now, go ahead, let it out.
Here's where I am in this show. I have watched the first 4 episodes of season 1, I believe, and I have watched the newer one that premiered on CW last week. And I'm going to preface everything I say with 2 things. One, I'm sure there's an audience for this. I'm just not it. Okay, I agree with you, Ed. I think the representation is important. I like that there's diversity in the cast. I like what they're trying to do, but I don't like what they're doing. And part of that for me is just my deal with Batman. Like, I don't ever want to see a Batman story without Bruce Wayne as Batman. That's just not what I'm there for. Like, I didn't like it in Gotham. I didn't like it in Birds of Prey, and I don't like it here. And that's my thing. Like, Batman's my favorite superhero, and I've been thinking about this for a while for this show. Why? How can I express? 'Cause I've never really thought about it. Why is Batman my favorite superhero? What sets him apart? Because I'll be honest with you, put like anyone in the Iron Man suit, I don't care, I'll watch it. You know, they're about like I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man's my second favorite. I got no problem with multiple Miles Morales. I'm all for it. Like, you give me multiple Spider-Mans. I like Peter Parker a lot, but I can do with anything. You put anyone but Dick Grayson in that bat suit, and I'm out. And the reason is this: Batman for me is set apart from other characters, right? Every other superhero has a traumatic event in their past and then an inciting incident having nothing to do with the traumatic event, usually, that gives them their powers, right? Spider-Man loses his parents and many years later gets bitten by a radioactive spider. No radioactive spider bite, you got a sad kid who lost his parents and can't stick up for himself, right? Superman loses his entire civilization, comes to Earth. Wait a minute, I'm a god because of this sun. You take that away, you have a sad man working a farm for the rest of his life, maybe having no idea he lost everything he lost, right? Mm-hmm. But Batman is the only superhero who his inciting incident is his trauma. What makes him Batman is he saw his parents be killed and went, I am going to do something. I'm not going to wait for a radioactive spider. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. No gamma rays. They're the same thing. And I think that really sets him apart. And so that's why I get kind of really upset as a fan when I see anyone else taking on the Bat mantle. So Kate Kane, let's say this, right? I watched it. She's a fine character. If she wasn't playing Batwoman, I probably would have been more into that show. But, you know, you give me, okay, well, now I'm Batman's cousin, and I also trained for X amount of years, and I can do this. And it's like, you're not Batman. This isn't Batman. Put anyone else in that suit, it's not Batman for me. And that's what this show feels like. I got pretend Batman in the background. This one episode which starts with Hush, the Hush setup where I got fake Bruce Wayne walking about, where it's like, come on, like Luke Fox should have seen that in a second. I mean, come on, it was ridiculous. Didn't make any sense. And just overall, I think it's a mistake to have Batman and not have Batman. Like, this could have been anything else. I don't know why it had to have been a Batman thing. And then I guess what even makes me more upset about it is that she's Batman's cousin. So the most famous person who lost his parents and had no one to raise him except for the butler. Everyone abandoned this kid except for the butler. He actually did have an aunt and uncle who just wouldn't take him in, but he's really close with the cousins. That made no sense to me too. So there's just a lot of stuff in here that just isn't for me. And I have to say that I could not have disliked the show more.
No, listen, I'm gonna Jason, I'm gonna argue with you on one point. This is the Spider-Man point, because that's pretty much probably what I was zooming in on there. So Peter does lose his parents at an early age. He gets the spider bite though, but then he starts being Spider-Man though off of his guilt for not helping to save Uncle Ben.
I agree, but I think
so. It is kind of his guilt that pushes that.
It is, but I think one could lay the argument that the initial trauma is what causes him to react in such a way to that trauma. Plus, also, he is directly involved in Uncle Ben's death. Mm-hmm. And I think, yes, the guilt does, but he is at that point still a superhero. If for his trauma to have been the inciting incident to begin with, like it was with Batman, he would have had to have grown up, become Spider-Man, and went, you know what? Even if Uncle Ben doesn't die, I'm doing the right thing. Okay. So I do think, yes, there is that inciting incident, but it happens after he gets his powers. And so I don't put it on the same level as Batman losing his parents. Maybe I'm just splitting hairs.
Okay. Yeah, no, and that's fine. I mean, I just, looking at, we'll have that another time. I know we did break down Batman and Spider-Man comparison because like Batman's your guy, but Spider-Man's your two, and I'm the other way around where Spider-Man's my guy, Batman's my number two. Tony, what do you got on Batwoman, so far at least?
Well, I could tell you that from the little that I've seen of this show, and pardon the pun, but this show is just batshit crazy. Like it's really like it's all over the place, right? I get where they're going with it, but I don't understand how they didn't learn from Gotham that you can't have a series based in the Batman world without having Batman. I mean, it's ridiculous. Yep. You can't. Gotham was so. and I said this when it first came out. Like I said, well, they covered the point where Bruce Wayne's parents were killed, and then Bruce Wayne's a kid. I said, what are they going to do? All the characters that are in the show, what are they going to do? Going to wait 15, 17 years for Batman to become Batman? No one's going to watch. Nobody's going to give a shit at that point. No one's going to care enough to watch the show to the point where Batman grows up to be Batman. No one's going to care that much. So now you have Batman that's missing. Okay, now maybe that'll get you through 4, 5, 6, 7 episodes, right? After that, people are going to be like, all right, well, you know what? He's gone, or he's wherever he is. That's the end of it. So I don't understand why they don't get that. That Batman is the draw. So if you're not going to have a show about Batman, you can't have him just missing or just outside of the show, because people are going to lose interest really quick. So I mean, I didn't see the first the episode that just came out because I'm not completely caught up on season 1, but I'll be honest with you, I'm it's all over the place. So I'm not feeling it. I'll be honest with you.
No, and that's completely fair. I mean, I think some of the things with this show was, so you look at CW was very successful with Supergirl, right? And the question will always be, though, where's Superman, right? In the first season, it was handled pretty clunkily, but I think the key thing, though, is that she was in her own city. She was in her own thing. I think the show made two pretty...
based in Gotham. Like, this is Batman's territory. You can't just have Batman just get up and disappear for 3 years, and people are going to be like, yeah, okay. Well, I like how it coincides with the fact that the Joker is missing as well, which is equally as ridiculous.
Well, I think that some of the key things is that, number one, you should have had... Kate Kane is not Bruce Wayne's cousin in the comics. So I think the fact that you forced some connective tissue, kind of like Batman 1989 forced, like, Jack Napier becomes the Joker, and then he killed, like, you just kind of forced them together for no reason that you really didn't have to. So I think that was number one. That was the mistake. You didn't need to make that his cousin. Number two, and I also know in the comics, Kate Kane is inspired by Batman. So she kind of starts doing her own thing. I think that would have played better.
I would have been more okay with that.
Yeah, and perhaps she leaves Gotham, or you come up with some sort of a reason legitimately why Batman is MIA or missing or something. Yeah, that's where I think the sticking point is, where you started off on the wrong foot. And also when you hear after, I think it was like when the first or second episode of last season, debuted, the writers literally said, we haven't really come up with an explanation for that yet. And it's like,
how do you go into a show and write something and then have no idea where it's going? Like, how could you not? That's where you run into these problems, and that's exactly what they ran into in Gotham. I said, look, this show could be fantastic. It could be well acted. It could be visually stunning. It could be all of these different things. But eventually, people are going to say, there's no Batman. I really just don't give a shit anymore. And that's exactly what ended up happening with the show. The characters were great. It was well written. It was a good show. But people just, after a while, it's just like, I don't want to wait 10 years for this kid to become Batman. No one cares.
Yeah. And Terrence has a fair point with that. I think that was part of the...
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the part of, that's the part that I think that's where they got the jumping off point just kind of wrong with that. But again, you're making the show is called Batwoman. It should be focused around Batman. You're trying to tell her story, not Batman's story. I get that. But once you make these changes, I think you can get people to buy in a little bit more to, what's exactly going on there. You know what I mean? Like, to dismiss one of the DC Trinity that quickly was just where you kind of started losing me. But whatever, if I overlook that and I'm just watching the show on its own, I just think the show just tried really, really hard constantly. Like, it's trying to be dark. I started getting those Gotham vibes, which that show I absolutely despised for a lot of the same reasons, but also just because it was just a really poorly written show, and it was bad. And that's where I'm starting to see with this. And I don't want to hate these shows. Like, I love the CW verse for the most part. But this is the one that I think where they're really kind of struggling with. As far as the season 2 premiere goes, like, listen, the show faces an uphill battle replacing Ruby Rose as Kate Kane, right? That's number one. I'm pretty sure they had season 2 planned out. This was not the plan, and they had to kind of like call the audible and adjust on the fly. right, to figure out exactly.
She David Caruso'd them.
Oh yeah, you're right.
She did. Right. She David Caruso'd them. That was. But I'll tell you right now, NYPD Blue was a hell of a lot more. They were more prepared to get rid of David Caruso than they were to have Kate Kane disappear, because that show that went on without a hitch, after he left. But it was the same exact thing. He wanted more money. They didn't want to give it to him, and they wrote him out of the show because they just couldn't come to a contract. But this is exactly the same thing. Like, after season 1, you lose your star actor. You lose the star of the show. I mean, there's no way that you're going to get off on solid footing. Having to rewrite the whole second season. Yeah. So honestly, what I would have done is just recasted Kate Kane, and that's it, and just moved on, and just been like, hey, listen, that's it. It's a different actor playing it. Let's not do that, because this gets into the season 2 stuff now. Not only knows DC has replaced Batman in the movies how many different times, so. Exactly. So it's obviously not a problem, and fans will understand. They'll buy into it. We're smart enough at this point. I'm probably going to butcher her name. Javicia Leslie steps in as the new lead, playing the character named Ryan Wilder. So Ryan kind of like stumbles upon the bat suit, Kate Kane's bat suit, by accident in a way in the season premiere. And Kate apparently. So another thing. So Kate and Carol Danvers are like, they became buddy Batman, Superman, and they make references in the past where it's like, oh, we're not, they're not kind of like they're frenemies of Batman and Superman and Batman. So they kind of make alludes to that as well. And that's fine. They make them buddies and stuff. So apparently the reason she was in the plane in the first place is she had a piece of kryptonite, which she had to fly to National City to have a conversation with Kara to, hey, can I destroy this kryptonite that you had given me? Because Kara gives her the kryptonite, or she takes the kryptonite essentially. And it's just to make sure that just in case Kara were to go crazy or turn evil one day or something like that, she can stop her. Now, this piece of kryptonite there, though, is wanted by a lot of people on the show, the villains, because apparently Batman's suit is made to be like the Iron Man suit in the show. Like, it's indestructible and everything else. And the only thing that can penetrate it is kryptonite. Why would Bruce Wayne make his suit susceptible to the same thing that could stop Superman?
It doesn't. Yeah, I thought that.
Here, I got your answer. You ready? He wouldn't.
Exactly.
He wouldn't. It's ridiculous.
Again, just like clunky writing is just like, I'm like.
That's not clunky writing. That's ridiculous writing. Jason and I could come up with a better episode, over a weekend than that. That's terrible.
Right.
It's bad. So instead of just continuously like, listen, well, I'll get to my likes and dislikes about it, so then we can get to the new thing. But ultimately, I'm still all holding out hope that they'll find their footing, perhaps with the new lead, who she was pretty good. I didn't mind the character of Ryan Wilder. She was like, had her own backstory. Again, they connected her to Alice, though, because apparently Alice and the Wonderland gang were squatting in an apartment that, like, Ryan and her mother were kind of getting, and then the Wonderland gang and Alice murdered her mother. So she's kind of like got it in for Alice to begin with. So she happens to find the Batwoman suit and is taking over that role. Again, I think you're just kind of forcing people together pretty hardcore.
I got a headache just hearing it, just listening to this.
Yeah, so listen, my highlight of the series is Rachel Skarsten as Alice. I think she's a scene stealer. Jason, I don't know what you feel about the Alice character. So I actually think she's pretty good. She's just kind of crazy well.
I like the actress. I like the character. I'm hoping that at some point they do actually bring in the Mad Hatter, because how do you not?
Yeah, I think that would be pretty cool. I mean, unless you're kind of just replacing the Mad Hatter with this, I can kind of see that.
Right, but here's the thing: if you're just replacing the Mad Hatter with female Mad Hatter, Alice, another female character from that book, then I think it's stupid, because the Mad Hatter exists. So either create a brand new character or reference an old character and have that character be a thing. Don't like make something not new but new, because that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm kind of with you on that too. But like, what's weird though is that I'm not too fond of what her story arc appears to be now that Kate is gone though. Like, because at the end of the episode, she finds out she gets a message from another villain who they insinuate that she took down the plane, like murdering Kate. So let me get this straight though. So she kind of knows that Kate is Batwoman. She's on the plane takes it down. And now Alice in the episode displays this whole plan she had to get her father to murder her sister. And she was like, she's upset that she didn't get this to happen. So now she's after this person because it's like, oh, you killed her before I could, which seems is kind of weird. So is she going to be like this anti-hero now? Suddenly she's not a villain anymore, but yet this new Batwoman is being set up to face her. Whatever. Again, kind of like silly thing. And my dislikes about the season premiere, at least, mainly is disposing of Kate Kane in an off-screen death, which maybe she's dead, maybe she's not. I know there was a weird thing. You know how it is. If we didn't see them actually die, we don't really know if they're dead. Yep. And the reason why she flew to National City, like it said, to chat with Cara Danvers was silly. So I just think that's silly. Ryan stumbled upon Kate's suit without, even though Sophia appears to have caused the crash, silly. I don't know. And then also the thing is, like, they made Kate attached to so many characters on this show that there's no need for any of them. There's no need for Jacob, who's her father, to be the head of the Crows. What the hell's his motivation? Except it looks like he's investigating Kate's murder or trying to find if she's still alive. Her girlfriend, or ex-girlfriend, Sophie, why the hell is she still on the show now? Because that's kind of like, I know she's one of the Crows, but like, what is her purpose now? And I know she in the show, she's like dating Alfred's granddaughter or something like that. So another, it's just,
okay. I didn't realize they were dating.
I didn't realize Alfred had grandchildren.
Well, there you go. So that's kind of where that is. No, well, Jason, they get to that eventually.
Okay.
In season 1.
When did Alfred have time to settle down with a family? She's been taking care of Bruce Wayne since he's been 9 years old.
Alfred
gets busy.
Yes.
Huh?
Alfred had some time on his hands when Bruce was running around in his batsuit.
Apparently.
And then her sister Mary, Kate's sister Mary, is on the show too. What is her deal? Like, again, you made all these characters so connected to Kate. You should have just recasted, man, and just moved on, and that would have been, I think, it was a smoother transition. So we'll see where this goes from here. I mean, I'm always trying to be optimistic about these shows, and I want to see a bunch of cool stuff happen. But man, it's kind of rough to want to hold this out. Terrence St. John, by the way, is hitting us with comments after comments after comments. And I love the support. I mean, I love the interest in what's going on here. We can hit a few of his things quick. In seriousness, Gotham Central could have been done, but you need access to the Bat villains and ability to say the name of the characters. I mean, honestly, though, since DC Fandom last August, it's kind of all out there now. Anyone can do that. Anyone can do any version of it. They've acknowledged that everything is a multiverse now. So I don't think that's a problem anymore. I know what Terrence is maybe referencing to earlier in the CW verse. They were told to shut down Deathstroke because they were doing. He was going to be introduced in the movie. They referenced Harley Quinn but couldn't name her because Suicide Squad was coming out. But I think that's actually all out the window now. They're kind of free to do whatever they want.
Name dropped so many. Lucius Fox. They name dropped the Joker. They name dropped a bunch of people in the first season. So. They're definitely using bad characters. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's roll on. The next one, WandaVision. So MCU's first TV show that they're officially MCU TV show that they're going to go in here. We can. What were you guys' impressions of the first 2 episodes that we got overall, though?
Well. I'll be honest with you. I started the first episode, and about 10 minutes in, I was about to text the 2 of you and be like, what the hell am I watching? Because I was like, I feel like I'm in an episode of I Love Lucy at this point. It was exactly like I Love Lucy. The house was the same, except the door was on the opposite side. The kitchen was in the same spot. The kitchen was exactly the same way that it was in the show, especially even with the blinds that would close the same way as Lucy's kitchen was. Mm-hmm. And dressed the same way, acting the same way. Like it was so unbelievable how well they did that. And then after that happened, and you saw him go to work, and then you saw him, with the coming home, and then as the episode started to go on, I was so into it, even though I didn't have no idea what I was watching in the first, 15 or 20 minutes of it. I was so into it. And then by the end, you start to see little things here and there. You saw when the guy, this is obviously spoilers. We've seen it. If you haven't, then turn this off. Mm-hmm. But seeing when the boss started to choke, and then that whole thing where the reality started to change a little bit, and she's like Vision, and then him going and doing that, and then at the end of the episode with the sword logo, like I was like, whoa, now I understand where this is going. And the second episode being I thought even better than the first. You saw that the part with the helicopter, the little helicopter drone or whatever that dropped into the bushes. Very, very, very well done. And I'm almost pissed that I have to wait a week to see the next episode. I did not watch the Mandalorian week by week, and to my own demise, unfortunately. But I got to watch it all at once, and now having been able to do that and enjoy it back to back at my own discretion, now having to wait week after week for these episodes, I'm going to lose my damn mind. So I mean, I thought it was excellent. It's well done. It's visually stunning. I mean, the black and white at the end of the second episode when it all changes to color, I was blown away by the whole thing. I'm totally bought into WandaVision.
Nice. And it's funny because Rick texted me the same thing early on. He was just like, 10 minutes in, what the hell am I watching? Like, what's going on here? I mean,
I literally I had my phone in my hand. I'm like, I'm texting these dudes. I'm like, guys, what the hell am I watching here? But it literally within the next 5 minutes, I started to like, oh, okay, all right. I'm starting to see where this is going. So it was really, really well done. Really, really well done. Nice.
No, I totally agree. Jason, what are your thoughts on the first 2 episodes of WandaVision?
Oh, I hated it. No, I'm kidding. I loved it. I loved it.
I was like, we're gonna go at it already.
This would have been OG Granny Speech 2 right there.
That's right. Come on, let's go. No, I loved it though. I thought so. I'm someone who grew up watching Nick at Night as a young kid, so I grew up watching a lot of the shows this is based on, and so two of my favorite shows as a kid was the Dick Van Dyke Show and Bewitched. And this is the Dick Van Dyke Show meets Bewitched. The relationship, and by the way, Olsen and Bettany have wonderful chemistry in a way I did not see in the MCU. Like their chemistry in this show is if it's just them on screen, I don't care. They're a wonder to watch. I think the fact that it plays with all of these tropes of, like, I was watching that first episode and about 6 minutes in, I go, ooh, they're playing with 50s, 60s sitcom tropes. I hope I get The Boss Is Coming to Dinner. And that was, of course, what that episode was about. But I also think that, like, outside of that, if that's not something you can appreciate like I do, because again, I grew up watching those things, there's so much to make you question. So like the shield insignia, which actually is present in both. I don't know if you guys caught it, but it's present in both of the episodes. Yes. Also, the fact that Wanda is somehow tied to it. Like there's the end. So we're doing spoilers. So the end of that second episode where she just reverses the tape. Like there's something.
She didn't like this. She didn't like it, so she just reversed it and said, "Oh, let's change that."
Right. Yeah. And so there's so many things set up where I'm like, this might be a clue. That might be a clue because obviously something's going on. I personally think the biggest clues we're going to get, and this is my prediction, is the commercials we keep getting. I think the commercials are our clues. So like seeing all of that, I was all into the show, and I'm very excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, no, me too, and I share a lot of the same sentiments you guys did. So yeah, the big tip off was the sword logo that keeps on appearing throughout. For those who may or may not know, sword is essentially Space Shield. The space version, they're another government agency like Shield, but they kind of focus on space. The connection there with an MCU thing is at the post-credit scene. The post-credit scene, not mid-credit scene, but the post-credit scene of Far From Home, when Fury is there and we find out that he's, been on this like ship and building it. Some speculate, not officially confirmed though, some are speculating he was building sword along with the Skrulls. So perhaps he was already beginning it, so that could have been the beginning of that, because we also don't know if S.H.I.E.L.D. is back like they were on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Are they defunct, as we were led to believe, because they haven't really been referenced a lot in the MCU movies in a while. So that's where that is. And for the whole thing with Sword is, let's just see. So there are some out there who are believing that Sword for the MCU stands for Sentient Weapon Observation Response Division for the MCU. That's been floated out there right now. In the comics, Sword, who first appeared in Astonishing X-Men, which was written actually by Avengers director Josh Whedon, they went under a completely different acronym. It was like Sentient Weapons Observations and Response, or something like that. So whatever. You get the point of that's where it's coming from. So that's where they were introduced in Astonishing X-Men. They appears at the end of the first episode with the monitor, because we see somebody's actually watching this episode of the episode along with us. The Sword logo appears on the book that's there. So we see someone's hands. We don't quite know who's watching this, or if do they have something to do with this. But
they did mention in that second episode, you heard them say you heard her hearing, who's doing this to you?
I was going to get to that. Yeah, you got
sorry.
Me.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I just trying to follow you up on you. Sorry about that.
No, absolutely. No, it's fine. But if we jump back to the beginning of episode 1. So the first thing I thought that was pretty interesting was one of the first lines that's spoken in the thing after we get the whole WandaVision theme song and blah, 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 is Vision says, my wife and her flying saucers, as she's got like the dishes flying around, and then she responds, my husband and his indestructible head. Now, I kind of thought that was a really dark reference to Infinity War.
Absolutely, it was.
As we know, Vision had the stone ripped out of his head, and then she goes ahead and she's making things flying around, and the discs and stuff like that look like this, that were Thanos' army, and in Infinity War. So I thought that was a reference there, a pretty dark reference, which I agree with. Honestly, I agree with Steven over there, who's been commenting on it too. I don't know about you guys, but I got this like weird kind of dark, creepy vibe at the same time as a happy-go-lucky show, because we all know it's the MCU and that we can't take this at face value. Whatever you thought of the idea to go through that, we're not taking it as face value. And then, the vibes of I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched and I Love Lucy were there. Now, there's also in the dinner scene with the boss, there is a thing that reads on it. Someone had translated this, and it's Maison de Repui. It's like French, and it translates, yes, House of Content. So that obviously fuels the whole belief that they're adapting the House of M storyline from the comics, where Wanda creates her own, reality after having a mental breakdown and stuff, and then maybe she's having a mental breakdown after losing Vision, because the last time we saw her, she almost took out Thanos in that Endgame battle by herself. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if he doesn't call in for the big guns, then she honestly was almost going to take him out on her own. So we do have that, and then you're right. Then Vision's boss starts asking questions like, "Where are you guys here? Where are you guys from?" This and that, and you can tell he's getting aggressive. And the wife,
he was interrogating. He wasn't. He wasn't being curious. The wife was being curious. Yeah. But he became he took the role of the interrogator almost immediately.
Yeah, it was like really, really pushing it, right? Mm-hmm. Like he's really pushing it, and you can kind of see a look on Wanda's face where she's kind of getting annoyed, and then all of a sudden he's choking. So essentially, like she's controlling it.
Right. And there's something interesting too. I think Deborah Jo Rupp, I think that's her name, Kitty from that '70s show.
Yes,
great casting. But Perfect. She has this moment where she's like, "Stop it! And then it gets and then it gets darker. Like her tone changes and what she means changes. And that, with a couple of other things, has started to make me believe that there are actually real people trapped in there with them. That's my theory. I think there are people trapped in this like fantasy, just like they are, except for Wanda might be the person who put them there. And that's why you have those creepy moments where people come back to themselves and then lose themselves again.
Yeah, no, and I think you hit it right on the head. That could be what happens, because we also do know that in the second episode we're also introduced to Geraldine, who you may or may not know who that is, but the cat's been out of the bag in a way with that, is that she's playing an older Monica Rambeau. So Monica Rambeau was Lieutenant Trouble in Captain Marvel.
Mhm.
So as a kid, so she's all grown up now. She's there, and now she's because you just happen to know that you recognize the actress who was casted as Monica Rambeau. So she's there. She's going by Geraldine. She's the only one who says, "I don't know what's going on. I don't know why I'm here." And then you're right, Jason. Like one of the people who's just kind of like really confused by the situation.
And there's also the woman, I forget her name, but it's the woman who in the second episode is running the party committee. When she has that moment where you hear the Beach Boys "Help Me, Rhonda" in the background, and you hear Wanda who's doing this to you, and she looks at her and she goes, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
And then she comes back to herself and she's back in that 50s life. So I think there are moments like that scattered throughout, which makes it's really keeping me interested.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, even though like some may have been thrown off by the premise of what the hell is this, if you start looking beneath, I don't know, so I was like looking below what the hell the exterior is, you start seeing a lot of this crazy stuff that's going on down there. And at the beginning of episode 2, Vision and Wanda are in their separate beds, and they hear a noise outside. And some are going, they go back and forth, and then Wanda appears to suddenly handle it, and then it stops. Later on, we find she goes into the bushes. She finds that toy helicopter, which I don't think it was a coincidence that it was Iron Man colored and had the sword logo on it. So there's another thing that kind of gets you thinking right there.
The commercials too, as Jason said, the one that was in the first episode, right? With the Stark toaster.
Yep.
And then the second one was Strucker Watch, which was Baron
Baron
reference
von Strucker.
to Baron. Yeah, it's the one who actually created her, essentially.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
the caption in the first commercial was, "Forget the past, look to the future."
Yep.
And this is a woman who now does not have a past in this world and is always having to recreate it in the future. So I think that's why I think they're clues. There's something in those commercials.
Right. Agreed.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about it. It's the same actor and actress that are in both of those commercials, and they're throwing it out there. And then also on the Strucker watch, as well as their actress, besides the Hydra symbol, it says 2800 is there. Right, the number 2800,
which is the address to the house.
Yeah, so now those are familiar with the comics. The main Marvel universe is considered the 616. Apparently, the MCU is 2800. That's Earth 2800. So that's another Easter egg that's been thrown in there for their address, and then also 2800 coming up on the numbers on the Strucker watch. So I thought that was also pretty interesting there as well. So then she cuts Dottie's hand while they're chatting. And you alluded to, like, she has the red blood, and Wanda kind of freaks out. And like I said, she doesn't. There's the "Help Me, Rhonda," and then the voice coming through. So the voice, I don't know if you guys, I recognized who the voice was immediately, and I also happen to know he's casted on the show. So apparently the voice on there is Randall Park. Randall Park, who some may remember, played Agent Jimmy Woo in Ant-Man and the Wasp. He was kind of the FBI agent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's the FBI agent that was with Scott, and they used him very comedically in that. So maybe he works for SWORD now. Maybe he doesn't. He's involved somehow, but I kind of picked up on the voice immediately, knowing that he was casted in the show. I kind of like put that together, so I thought that's pretty interesting. And then the big thing that's got people kind of buzzing and talking on a lot of things is that the beekeeper, when she rewinds it, and she's like, "No," and then rewinds it, and then she doesn't like it again. Sword logo on the back of the beekeeper's outfit. So yeah, I think we're all essentially on the same page here. We pretty much all agree that Wanda has created her own reality after her breakdown and stuff, after losing Vision. She's controlling it, but maybe did she really change reality like the entire MCU? Did she really bend it that much? Or did she create her own little pocket so for her and Vision to be together? And there's also some other stuff out that's in a lot of speculation on other shows and other sites about things. I kind of wanted to share some of these, see what you guys think. So some people believe that Dottie might actually be a character named Clea. Clea is the Sorcerer Supreme of the Dark Dimension in the comics, which is where the Dark Dimension, if you recall, is where Doctor Strange faced Dormammu in his film. And she is the counterpart to Doctor Strange in the comics. So the question is, like, is that really Clea? Was there some sort of a deal that Wanda maybe worked together with Clea to get this to happen? Or is she Mephisto? who is essentially the devil of the Marvel universe.
I actually would be very interested if they brought Mephisto into this.
Yes.
I did not actually even think that was coming or that was a possibility, but now that you bring it up, like I would be very interested in that.
Yeah. No, I think so, because that also opens up the doors for like, Ghost Rider and like a darker element to the MCU that's gonna be there. And Steve's saying that the Beekeeper he believes is a reference to AIM. Could be AIM. Maybe we find out. We know AIM was introduced in Iron Man 3. They've been kind of floating around, out there too. Maybe they're involved again. I thought it was a Sword logo on the back. Maybe Sword and AIM are working together or something like that. I don't know. And then let's see. Why does she rewind time at the end of episode 2? Was that the person? Yeah, that's what we're believing that could potentially be messing with her.
Yeah. Or I don't think he was after her. I think she recognized him as a threat to the reality she's trying to maintain.
Yes.
Because I do think she's maintaining this reality, whether she means to or not.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think we're all on the same page that she's got people trapped in there. Maybe there's other forces. Maybe the Mephisto thing is a thing. Maybe Clea is, because maybe Dottie is somebody, because she seems to kind of know a little bit more than other people. She doesn't seem as confused. And then there's another aspect that's being thrown around there about the neighbor, who I think was also spectacular in the show.
She was great.
Yeah. So the question is Agnes playing a character? Is she really Agatha Harkness, who's another character from the comics who is highly tied to Wanda? So part of the thing I grabbed is Agnes also wears the same brooch thing. It's kind of like a pin type thing. Brooch, yeah. Thank you. As I'm not up on my fashion, I was trying to get Angie to give me a hand with that, but
brochette.
Yeah, so she's wearing the same thing like Agatha wears in the comics. That's what's got people starting to think. Plus, Agnes, Agatha, you can see the similarities there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the one thing that we're going to see moving forward in this is, so you saw the first episode, and it was pretty buttoned up tight. They were solidly in her fantasy or whatever reality that she has built, and they were living there. And then you saw the little bit of, well, where did you come from? What was your wedding song? When's your anniversary? So on and so forth, right? And so you saw little things. And then you saw a little bit more, you saw the problem with Vision. I think that you saw at the end where she something that she didn't like or something she saw as a threat, and she decided just to rewind it back and change it. And then you saw that, the coloring coming in. I think what you're going to see here personally is that each episode you're going to start to see more and more of this reality break down until again it's going to get more and more chaotic to the point where that maybe it's something like where as you saw, if you remember when we saw in the Joker, where you saw a character that started here and then just started to spiral out of control. And I think that's what we're going to start to see as these episodes get farther and further into this series.
Yeah, no, and that's also a thing. But so let me just give you guys a little background into this Agatha Harkness, who maybe that's who she's going to be. So she wears the same thing. She's basically, her version is she's one of the original Salem witches in the comics, and in ensuing battle, so apparently she comes back to life, and the Salem 7 apparently get a hold of Agatha, and then they go and they essentially try to they kill her, and then Scarlet Witch shows up. She she shows up in time where the whole community is being taken out, and she takes their energy, right, of the entire community, and goes in and manages to capture some of the energy and funnel it in a way for the entire town while they're being decimated, to channeling it to pretty much become pregnant with Vision's kids. And as we know at the end of the second episode, she was pregnant. That's another thing that's there. Right. So that's what a lot of those things, what we know about, Agatha Harkness in the comics, seems to be lining up with some of the things that are happening here. And for all we know, there could be no relevance to her. She might just be another character.
Yeah, just a figment of her imagination.
Yeah.
To go to what someone said about funny lines, right? Like, do you have your night vision on? I actually want to say that I got both of these episodes got genuine laughs with their jokes from me.
Mhm.
Like, they had, outside of being a really cool, weird MCU property,
Yeah.
it made me laugh like a sitcom makes me laugh. I don't
I thought
laugh
it was
often in
funny.
sitcoms, but it was funny, and I think that is not something to be overlooked. They really did an amazing job with doing something in the MCU as a sitcom.
Yeah.
Right, making it interesting and appealing to people who like both. So I'm glad that someone put up there about like the actual jokes in it, because it is funny.
Yeah, I thought it was.
I definitely thought it was funny, and just the idea that they took the MCU, which has been, again, such a big time, money spent visually, visual, everything that they've done to this point. And we've talked about for years now how well and how much money Marvel puts into everything that they've done. Everything is so seamless. They pay attention to every single little detail, and to see them go back to a 1950s show and a concept like this, which has never been done.
No.
Anything like this, especially superhero wise, but just anything in general, go back to something like this and to pull it off so flawlessly. And again, to show like the little cracks here and there, and the little Easter eggs that they've left for us to find, and so on and so forth. It was very, very, very well done. Very well done. But I mean, this is what we've come to expect from them. Everything. As soon as you hear something like, "Oh, there's going to be a studio audience," and "Oh, it's going to be like I Love Lucy," or "It's going to be like the Dick Van Dyke Show," you'd be like, "What?
Yeah.
Wait, really? How are they going to pull this off?" Vision and Scarlet Witch, of all people, are going to be able to pull this off, and they did, and they have at this point.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm super excited to see where it goes. But like you guys said, it's the MCU trying something different. That's one of the things we love about it. They give us something different every time out, and this is no exception. So we'll see. We'll see where we're at for the third episode, which will be dropping on Disney Plus this Friday. Can't wait to get into that and see where it goes. There's also at the end of the episode, things turn to color.
Yes.
Which I'm kind of happy about, to be honest with you.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to move into that. And we'll see what the next, because I think each episode for a bit is supposed to kind of like be an ode to a decade of television, sitcom television leading up to. So I guess we're in the 70s now.
70s now. It looks like we're going to hit the 70s.
That makes sense. 50s was Dick Van Dyke. 60s was Bewitched. I'm curious what they do for the 70s. Oh, my bet is. Oh no! All right, I gotta think about this. I'm gonna give a bet, but I can't think about it yet. I can't say it yet. I gotta think about it.
All right. Yeah, because I know there's going to be a Full House reference. I thought I saw at one point that they were going to do something like that.
Would be great if they could do three. I mean, it wouldn't be. Obviously they can. It's only two of them, but that would be. That to me, that's the show that sticks out of the 70s. Is
okay. No, not a bet. But I would really like to see them do All in the Family. That's what I want to see.
Wow.
That would be so wonderful.
Wow. That would be
they
something.
Could recreate Archie Bunker. Oh my God. How phenomenal would that be?
But Vision is Archie Bunker. I mean, come on, that'd be awesome.
Props to Paul Bettany, by the way, in that second episode, playing with like a drunken Vision, which was amazing, absolutely amazing, very, very well done.
Yeah. So we'll see. So next episode we'll dive into that. We'll get into WandaVision episode 3, and then let's move on to the next big topic here. Wonder Woman 1984. I think we opened the show with the awesome guitar riff from the original Wonder Woman. I don't think I'm incorrect in saying this, but we're all big fans of the original Wonder Woman. Like, we all love the first film. Okay, and I know I'm like putting the cushions down right now for the landing. I get it. There was, a lot of people on like Kyle and Jader covered this. They did their review. Tim was on there. Tim laid into it. That seemed like it was universally pretty much disliked on that show. I have stayed shut about Wonder Woman on social media up until now. So it's kind of
I tried to stay shut.
You did, and I give
did.
you credit. I give you credit. You were biting your tongue as much as you could, and it's fine. I'm gonna start this one off since I think this is gonna be Granny's Peachy style here. I like the overall message of the movie. Okay, I do. It's like, hey, listen, don't take your shortcuts. Nothing's born of lies. There's a lot of things like that. Earn what you get, and everything like that. Fine. I like the opening scene on Themyscira. I thought that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. It was a little bit longer to get that message across. And I thought the main cast was, I liked Max Lord a lot. He was a highlight for me. I thought Kristen Wiig as Cheetah, considering what she was handed, she did the best she could with it. And at this point, Gal Gadot can play Wonder Woman in her sleep if she wanted to. She was fine. She did what she had to do and things like that. I thought there was a lot of echoes of Richard Donner's Superman 2 in there, which was, I think, pretty evident, which is fine. Again, you said it in 1984, so I can see where you want to maybe inspire that and stuff like that. And I think that's where maybe some of the cheekiness came from. Maybe it was just not communicated properly, necessarily. Overall, I thought the film starts falling apart, though, with logic. Logic is this film's biggest enemy. To my knowledge, there's no Warner Brothers studio interference in this one, so this was completely on Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns, who did co-write this together. And I was looking forward to it. I was pretty pumped up for Wonder Woman 84. I think the bar was set pretty high after the first one. I was just honestly, the best thing I could describe this as is just disappointed. It was a lot. I was looking forward to it. We didn't have a major comic book movie since, Birds of Prey, Harley Quinn Birds of Prey, which was the updated title, by the way, instead of the ridiculous Birds of Prey and the Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. They shortened it because they realized how absurd it was. So it's been a while, right? And I was really pumped, man. And it was just not there. I watched it twice. Yes, I know I was telling you guys I was going to watch it again before. I couldn't. I decided not to do it. Time crunch, and plus I just was not. But yeah, the logic falls apart for me, and that's pretty much the biggest missed opportunity with this. Jason, do you want to share your thoughts on Wonder Woman 1984?
Oh, I do.
Wait,
I really do.
Can I get a beverage? Because I really want to miss a word of this. So give me 1 second.
I'll go on a little.
2 hours and 15 minutes. I can't take it anymore. I got to get something to drink. Hold on 1 second.
I get it. The bladder is strong, not the thirst. I know. Like I pretty much, the boss man's probably like, man, you guys went on forever. It's fine. Guys. It's fine. First episode.
Look, first episode. We'll fix this on the second. That's all.
You know something? I think it's been fun. I think we're good. I think we're doing what we got to do.
If the boss man likes it. All right. Yeah. Here are my thoughts on Wonder Woman 84. I want to preface this by saying Wonder Woman, the original, is my favorite DCEU movie. I think it's the best quality DCEU movie. If we're not just talking that I like it, that I just think as it functions as a movie, what it does for the franchise, I think Wonder Woman is best DCEU has given us. Wonder Woman 1984 has actually knocked out my long-standing worst DCEU movie on my list because I just really, really dislike this movie. And I'm going to try not to be hyperbolic. I'm a hyperbolic guy, so I'm going to try to be really truthful to how I feel about this movie without giving in to my penchant for hyperbole. First off, this movie had no plot. I want to tell you that I paused. I was watching it the other night, and at 58 minutes in, Chris Pine is doing like a montage in his 80s outfits, and I go, "Oh, we're having a long montage in this movie." Well, have I not been watching it this long? Because it feels like I've been here a while. And I press it, and we're like 58 minutes into a 2.5-hour movie. Right there, that's a problem. If you have a 2.5-hour movie with no plot, and I'm getting like an 80s montage of Chris Pine looking good in different 80s clothes. Who cares? Well, who is this for? I don't get, like what I said with Batwoman before. I get that has an audience and that is for people. I just don't understand who this was for, because it's not for people who like Wonder Woman, the movie. I understand that this is based on a plot in the comic book. But here's the thing. Wishing might work well in a comic book. And in the movie Wishmaster from New Line Cinema,
I didn't see that.
It does not work well in a comic book movie now, because my problem with this is, okay, so now everyone just wishes for things, and then we have 2 hours of people dealing with wishes. And did you know this movie was like The Monkey's Paw? Did you catch that it was like The Monkey's Paw? Let me remind you, it was like The Monkey's Paw, because I believe they say it 3 times in the movie. Like, and here's the thing I never wanted to see: Wonder Woman in The Monkey's Paw. Like, I don't. And the fact that the villain becomes the Wishmaster, and here's the thing: I could overlook all of that. I could overlook the fact that it has a very, very limited plot. I can overlook the fact the entire thing is based on wishing, I guess. Except that by the end of the movie, it breaks its own logical sense, right? The whole movie is this: you touch, let me see. You touch the object and you wish upon it, right? I wish I never had to sit through Wonder Woman 1984, right? And then by touching and wishing, it grants your wish. So here we are. Wait a minute, guys. I've never seen Wonder Woman 1984. But here's the rub. Now I have nothing to talk about, and I have doomed myself to look like a moron on this show with nothing to talk about. Okay, fine. That's it. But now, guys, I want you to look at my magical wish-casting pen, because being on this call with you is like touching you somehow, and make your own wishes. What the hell was that about?
I wish I knew.
And then the fact that the cheetah, who I'm going to say, I like Kirsten Wiig as the cheetah.
Yeah,
I like her performance is fine. I thought all the performances were fine. I got no problem with the actors in this movie.
Agreed.
But I don't know if you caught the one throwaway line that sets up why she becomes the cheetah, which is, "Don't you see you're losing your humanity?" Wait, so that means by the end of the movie you're a cheetah creature? How did that happen? Like, that's the thing. It sets up a reality and a logical sense, and then immediately destroys that because wishing can make that happen. And that is my problem with this movie: is no plot and no internal logic. And again, I want to share this story. The day after I watched it and said almost nothing, Ed texts me and he goes, "Hey, what'd you think of that mid-level scene, that mid-credit scene?" I went, "Oh, god damn, I was so excited for the movie to be over. I forgot there was a mid-level scene." So, I wanted to love this movie. Even after people were saying how terrible it was, I was going, people say that about movies you like all the time. I liked Birds of Prey. People don't like that. I like Suicide Squad. People hate that. All right, fair enough. So I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe this just is a movie that I'm going to like that other people don't, and I'm going to have to bear the fact that I have an unpopular opinion. But no, that was not the case. It just was, I didn't see anything there. That's my take.
You followed up a lot of it. The wishing stuff just completely went off the rails. There was you have to touch the stone. You don't have to touch the stone. Maybe you can hear me. You cannot hear me. The invisible jet stuff, honestly,
I forgot about that.
Again, and I think I'm out of the three of us, I'm probably the one who maybe I've watched it twice. So I guess out of the three of us, I'm the one who kind of likes it a little bit more. The invisible jet, I get it. It was a cool reference. We all know there was a goofy thing from the comics. Didn't bother me. I thought the visuals with her swinging and on the lightning and all of that, did I care what the logic was? No, it was an incredible visual. And behind me, it makes for a friggin' awesome pop. I'll tell you that much.
I have it.
Yes, we both have it. And I think it's great. And in the trailer, I saw that. I'm like, yeah, Wonder Woman swinging on lightning. I'm there. Let's do this. Let's go. I didn't care.
Why not?
Yeah, and then the golden armor, which was hyped up. I know some people bitch about that, Cheetah tore through it. I kind of think I took that as, listen, she just beat the crap out of her in the White House, so it just was more showing how Cheetah could just rip through the armor, just showing more of her strength. I think fair enough, but again, they show her going from the White House to, all right, I'm going to go get Max Lord. And then she pivots and goes back to her apartment. Oh, let me go get this golden armor.
It's
No, it would have been really cool if she would have went home after the White House, been like, yo, I need something extra to handle Cheetah. Open the golden armor, show her fly with the golden armor, and then swing it on the damn lightning with the golden armor and the wings.
would have been something.
Yeah, that would have made it even better. And then it just, I don't know, just the logic of it. Just they don't set your own rules. This is a fantasy land, right?
Right.
Follow them.
If you tell me that the wishing is granted by, I think of a person I've met and somehow I can take a thought from their head and grant them a wish and kill them. If that is the world you have set up, I'm in. I buy into it. But they set up a world and then they don't follow through.
And by the way, that mid-credit scene, I liked.
I did too.
I liked the mid-credit scene. I get it. It was literal Wink breaking the fourth wall in a way for Linda Carter.
Care. It was fine.
I'm all for it. I'm there for it. I'm here for it. Maybe, I know Patty Jenkins has talked about maybe Cheetah is being set up for a third movie. We know we are getting a third movie directed by Patty Jenkins. We get that that's happening. So that's fine. I'm not ready to write her off either, though.
No. I'll watch it.
Yeah, why not? I'm there. She can rebound. We all like the original. You get another chance. Some Star Wars fans, and including the three of us, all like Star Wars, crying about Rogue Squadron. Not a thing. She gets Rogue Squadron. It's fine. Everyone has a bad day at the office. Not that big a deal. It's fine. Tony, share with us Wonder Woman 1984. Your experience.
All right, I'm going to start off by saying that I did not hate this movie. I didn't like it either. So
Agreed.
It falls right in between me not liking it and me hating it. So
would you watch it again?
Maybe just to see if I missed something here and there, but I can't see myself watching it more than maybe one more time.
So I think you might dislike it a little bit more than you might think at the moment. I suggest, Tony, you watch it again because that's what I did. And honestly, it was a little bit rough, and that's when the logic really started punching me in the face.
Well, let me. Okay, so
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Let me preface the idea of is that I think that the flaws of this movie were two flaws. Okay, first flaw is that I feel like they chose this storyline only because it allowed them to bring Chris Pine back. This was the only storyline that they could choose in order to bring him back. And I feel like when you start writing a movie upon bringing back an actor, you're right away you're in the wrong. Okay, that's the first and foremost thing. I feel like they did it for the wrong reason. This was the way that they could bring him back. They felt that they had great chemistry. They really liked him in the first one, but then once again, you killed him in the first one, and boom! In the first 20 minutes of this movie, he's back. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that Marvel has just spent the last 11 years building a franchise and building their shared universe off of magical stones. Why in the name of God would your first movie after the Infinity Stones or the Infinity Saga of Marvel, would you base your story upon a magical stone? Why would you do that? Okay? Again, the only reason why they chose this was because they wanted Steve Trevor back. So what did they do? They took a story that they should not have touched because of what Marvel has done with the Infinity Stones, and then they utilized it this way. Okay? The Wishing Stone. Okay? Fine. Now they show you a little bit in the beginning where the guy wishes he had coffee, and then poof, the freaking guy with the coffee shows up. Okay. Then you saw, I actually liked the idea that she wished that she was Diana, not because she thought she was powerful, but because she was confident in this and that, and people liked her. I liked that idea. So I was like, okay, I'm kind of feeling this just a little bit. I was a little pissed off about the stone thing, but I'll forget about that getting to this point. Then the whole Steve Trevor thing, showing up as somebody else and talking to her, and she's like, "Oh my God," and she just leaves with the guy, but she doesn't recognize. I'm like, what the hell is she doing? This is Wonder Woman. You showed, and you went to such great lengths to show how formidable she was and how smart she was, and all of this shit. And now you just she just gets whisked away off of her mission to find this girl and the stone because a guy who sounds like Steve Trevor shows up. Like, that was ridiculous. That's lazy writing. It's lazy.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to get crazy yet. Okay, so then we get into the idea that Steve is going to help her. We went through that whole thing with him putting on the clothes, and now in the first movie, she was the fish out of water, which she was perfect. Now, look, Chris Pine is a phenomenal actor. I love Chris Pine. I like everything that he's in. I loved him in Wonder Woman 1. Okay, him being the fish out of water in this movie, I thought was okay, fine. You got him in here. Let's let him be the fish out of water. Okay, but did he have to try 9 different outfits on? Like, did he have to put on an outfit that went through every single 80s reference that there ever was? No, that was completely overkill, as you pointed out, Jason. Ridiculous. Okay, now they decide they're going to get to the invisible jet thing, right? We're going to go towards the invisible jet. Okay, did you know that the Smithsonian just happens to have fighter jets parked in the back of the fucking of the museum? Did you realize that? Because I didn't know that. She just whisked her card and they just walked out onto an airfield. I had no idea Smithsonian had shit like that, bro. Like, I was stunned. And the thing, gassed up, ready to go, just hop right in, pop the keys, and here we go. We're flying away.
Tony, you've never needed to get somewhere really quick and just taken the subway over to the museum and taken one of their jets, which they just let everyone use?
I borrow the 7 train all the time because, why not? So at that point now I'm like, all right, this is getting ridiculous. And now they're in the plane and they're flying. And when she says the thing about the radar, I go, they're going to make this the invisible jet. I'm telling you right now, this is where this is going. And sure enough, there it is. Fine. You want to make the reference? She was the one flying the invisible jet, but hell, why not? Okay, so you got Steve there. He's the pilot, whatever. So, whatever. Now you get into the part about, like you said, the references to Superman 2. She's losing her powers, but she's got her powers, and then she don't have her powers. That's not a reference to Superman 2. Superman 2 he didn't have no powers, right? So he was just himself. He went into the diner. He tried to stand up to those guys, and they beat the shit out of him, right? That's not what's happening here. First, she's flipping over a tank, and then the next minute, she can't even get us up off the ground. Like, so what does it do? Does it come in waves? Like, I don't understand. There's no premise of if she's close to the Dream Star, if she's close to him, she spends too much time with it. Whatever it is, you're losing your powers. How are you losing them? How's that happening?
Can I say one thing about Superman 2, though?
Please.
Clark has an incredible ability in Superman 2 when he doesn't have his powers. He can walk from the Fortress of Solitude to that diner in the freezing cold with a members only jacket.
Yeah, isn't that just amazing? Isn't it amazing that? But okay,
go ahead. Back to Wonder Woman 81.
Okay, so and I don't want to go crazy here, but because there are things that I did like about the film. Like you said, the acting I thought was very good. Pedro Pascal, always a win for me, especially since The Mandalorian. But I thought he was very good as Max Lord. But then we get into, like you said, now we're losing logic. Now we're talking about, we're gonna broadcast. Oh, it touches people. Oh, because you said it touches people. Now it touches people. So okay. So we'll go on TV. Right? We'll go on TV around the world, right? And we'll just start granting wishes that way. How about this one, Jason? How about this one? How about you only get one wish? Now, all of a sudden, Cheetah gets 2.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, good point.
I want to be an
Why she get a second one?
Yep. I didn't even catch that.
One. Yeah,
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah. So now all of a sudden, now you set the thing that it only could be one wish. Now you're giving out multiple wishes. Then you set the idea that you got to touch people. It ain't even like all you had to do. And I told this to Ed the night that because after this movie, I called him up at midnight and I'm like, bro, we got to talk about this because I got a lot to say. So you set the precedent that you have to touch the person, that you have to touch the stone, right? Okay. So you set that precedent right off the bat. All you had to do at some point was him to realize that he didn't have to touch the person and then you set a second precedent. Like you just say, "Holy shit, I can grant a wish. I don't even have to be near the guy. That's great. Now I can do this, or now I can go on this." They never set that precedent. They just all they did was just let him do it. Never explained it. You got a 2.5-hour movie. You couldn't devote 90 seconds to the idea that he can grant wishes from not being touched. Then you set the precedent that you can only have one wish. He grants the second wish to her, to the cheater. Why? Why'd you do that?
And I'm gonna even point something out that makes that even worse, because I didn't clock that, is that there's supposed to be a whole moment.
I think Jason froze her.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me? Because I'm going in and out.
Now I got you.
Okay. So there's supposed to be a whole moment of reconciliation that saves Max Lord's character. That's his name, Max Lord, right? Where he realizes his son is in danger and he renounces his wish, which I want to get into too, because that's freaking stupid. That you could just renounce your wish at any time. It's like Wishmaster Light. But anyway, he renounced his wish and he goes to his son, and the son says, "I wish that you would be here." And the whole point is, but that's not why I'm here, because you already made your wish that I'd be successful, right? So wait, he could just grant 2 wishes to Cheetah because it makes sense for the plot. Like, so
right.
It makes
the kid only gets the 1 wish.
Yeah.
It makes it even worse that we're supposed to care about this guy and actually feel for him because the kid didn't wish him back. It's like, well, how do we know that? You gave other people 2 wishes.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Less important people to him, no less.
Right.
So that's where I have a problem with the lazy writing. I felt like they just, something didn't fit, and they just said, you know what, they'll figure it out. It's visually pleasing, so maybe they'll just forget about this little thing here and there. So I didn't like that. I didn't like the fact that they decided that they were gonna, have this the fight between Wonder Woman and Cheetah. Like you built up to it in the White House, right? So you built up to it. She kicked her ass, whatever. Okay, fine. Now you build up to this big fight. She's got the armor on. She's all jacked up with the gold and this, and she throws the wings away, which I've never in my life understand that. But okay, so she throws the wings away, and then they fight for like. What was it? 1 minute and 20 seconds, it felt like. And they're just swinging from the freaking power lines. Like, you built this whole thing up. You have her as this quote-unquote apex predator, right? She got her second wish. And the fight was just not... I mean, I don't say that it's got to go on like Superman and General Zod in Man of Steel. Like, it didn't have to go on for 20 minutes. But give me more than 90 seconds of the two of them actually going at it. It was just... It was very... It was just a letdown. Leading up, and then... It was a letdown. And then the thing with the showing, the thing with the lasso, like how many times are you going to do the thing where she got Trevor with the lasso, she got Aquaman with the lasso, she did it again with with Max Lord. Like, it's just, I just felt, I felt like this was a missed opportunity. They picked a great period in which to do the movie in the 80s, and it would have been perfect for her to kind of. And look, they did a great job. And that scene in the beginning, which I thought the scene was acted ridiculously when they were in the shopping mall. Okay, but. Her throwing the tiara around and knocking the cameras out, which that kind of falls in and nobody knows who she is. And, so they try to at least keep up a little bit with the story of nobody knew who she was until she came out with Batman vs. Superman. But that all being said, I felt like this was a complete missed opportunity by them. I felt like the writing was lazy. The performances were great. It was visually, it was great. I thought that the CGI was great. The lightning scene, like you said, was awesome. Like her swinging from the lightning, I thought that was great. Yeah. So I enjoyed those aspects of it, but the story itself and the movie itself just fell flat, and it just was not as enjoyable. It was nowhere near enjoyable as the original one. It doesn't even come. It's not even in the same galaxy as the first one. The first one was almost as perfect a superhero movie could be. It had everything that you wanted. It had a great backstory. It had how she came about to be who she was, how she learned to harness her powers and so on and so forth. It was done so well. But this movie just fell flat on me.
If I can renounce my wish for one moment, so I could say one more thing.
Please
so now I have memory of this movie again. I also want to point out that, and you touched on this, Steve Trevor is absolutely useless in this movie, except for two things. One, to set up Wonder Woman in man trouble, because it becomes a movie about Wonder Woman, who in the first movie was like this kick-ass character who, didn't need anyone to like, nah, it's okay, I got my man back, so we're gonna go do other things for an hour. But he solved no purpose except to convince her to renounce her wish and let him go. It's his only purpose. Like every problem he solves, like if you notice the jet, like the reason they have to steal the jet is because he can't travel, not because she can't. She could very easily take a plane to where she needs to go.
Right.
Which, by the way, I just want to comment on that though. Why can't he travel? The guy whose body he's taking over doesn't have a passport. You couldn't really.
There's so many levels that I even forget that he's another guy, and I try to forget that at the end of that movie
she has the conversation with him out in the middle of the street, which I was like, dude, why are you doing this? Like, why are you doing this? Are you trying, like, if you were trying to set up, the fact is that when he said to her, what about this guy? Why can't you fall in love with this guy? Or why can't you find a guy like this guy? Where it just shows you she had no, what is she showing you? She said she's got no interest in it. Okay, that's fine. But again, it goes back to she wasn't looking at Steve Trevor because he wasn't really there. It was only him occupying somebody else. So you're showing Steve Trevor, but she was seeing that other guy, which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't know where this went wrong. I don't know if this is more of a Patty Jenkins thing. I don't know if this is more of a Jeff Johns thing. I don't know if it was a collaboration of the two, but they were on a good run, man. Between Wonder Woman, between Aquaman, Shazam, like they were on a Joker, like they were on a good run, and this just fell flat.
Yeah, no, it definitely did. And honestly, the other things the two other points I want to bring up about Wonder Woman 84 before we close the show with our quick rundown of DCU movies, because we'll announce where we're going to go after this as far as films go. So we don't really have to go into those, but let's get to Terrence's things. I don't think he was useless. He's been made her object of lament in every film outside of 1984.
Which and not to cut you off, Jason, but which is more of the reason why he should never have been in this film to begin with.
Yeah,
because he did what he did. She had this thought of him and this lament of him of giving his life basically to save her and everybody else, and to bring him back. To me, that just it was like a tease for her. Like she thought that, oh yeah, I'm going to be able to keep him around. Like Wonder Woman isn't wired that way. Like it could have 40 years of her being by herself have gotten her to that point. Sure. But that's not the Wonder Woman that we were led to believe who she was.
And I'm just going to say, I think he's useless in this movie. I agree with you, Terrence. He is the object of lament. We see it in all of these movies. But the fact that he is brought back, and then we spend an hour, 2 hours with him, and what he did, the only thing that he accomplished in the entire movie was to convince her to let him go. I think we could have done that without bringing him back to life and spending 2.5 hours. I think it could have been like a ghost, or it could have been a shadow of her memory. He could have been there doing this, but not for 2 hours in someone else's body playing dress up. That's what I say he's useless. He solves no problem, no conflict in the movie, except for the overall conflict that she has to let him go, which she doesn't by BVS, just to point out.
Well, that's the first thing. She doesn't let him go in this movie either, because if she talks to the guy at the end, which he told her in the very beginning that that should be a guy that she could whatever, get to know or whatnot or whatever, and she blows him off too. So she obviously doesn't get over him. Right. So the whole purpose is ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I'll also say regarding Terrence's comment before we get to the last points I wanted to make regarding Wonder Woman 84, and it's one of them is about Trevor. They made Terrence says that they made him into her Agent Carter. Difference is though by the time Steve catches up to Peggy Carter in Winter Soldier, she's older. They meet. Even Peggy kind of was like, "Hey, maybe the niece is somebody," because she knows that Steve is around the same age and stuff like that. So things are a little bit different to that. But yeah, it's just if we're talking about in the context of Wonder Woman 1984, his character is just bizarre. One thing is, by the way, wishes are granted in the sense of walls appear, all this magical stuff's appear. Don't bring him back in somebody else's body. Just make Steve materialize.
Bring him back. You're wishing. It's him.
Exactly. If Steve
would believe that more than I would have believed that he was somebody else.
A couple of reasons quick. One, there's a lot of bizarre, weird things that when you start really thinking about it for a minute, Steve being in this, we know they spend a couple of nights together and everything like that. So without this, it starts to be opening up some weird doors. This guy doesn't have a life. He doesn't have a job. He doesn't have anyone around him.
Or whatever.
Yeah, it's really strange. So there is that to it. The whole passport thing is just weird also. And then, by the way, for the continuity of the DCEU, don't you think when they fought Doomsday and fought Steppenwolf later on, that her flying and being able to turn things invisible would have came in handy? I'm just saying, I don't have a problem that she
flying thing that's what pisses me off about this whole thing, bro. You're going to introduce the fact that she could fly, but meanwhile, you've already had her in 3 other movies, and she ain't flying. She ain't flying for shit. So where? I don't get that.
Don't you think it would have been when they were fighting Doomsday? Don't you think Batman could have been like, "Yo, turn me invisible"? Doomsday's about to fucking crush me.
Hello. The whole thing. I mean, it's
some things you may have wanted to, to lead with that you had these abilities before, Diana.
Mm-hmm.
But overall,
especially you can't introduce, and this is the thing, you can't introduce new powers for a superhero for a movie that was 30 years before the movie that you just had her in. It doesn't fly. So now, are they going to add the fact that she can fly into Zack Snyder's Justice League? Because now you're really just going around, changing your canon left and right whenever you want to. I mean,
or unless we find out Zack Snyder and her had that conversation, Patty Jenkins had that conversation, and she can. Again, we're getting a 4-hour movie there, so we don't know what the hell we're going to get.
I don't know, because I think that this movie was filmed before they talked to Snyder. Yeah. That's the problem. Because this movie was supposed to come out last June.
Yeah.
They didn't even announce this with Snyder till late spring last year. This movie was mostly in the can at that point. So unless he's going to add it into his film, incorporate it, and then just have to explain why in Batman vs Superman she just decided not to fly around. I mean,
no, I agree. So I think it's just something that you can't follow up on with that. It's kind of bizarre. All right, so I think we're gonna listen. Let's get to our last segment quick. Let's run down our DCU rankings because I'm sure there's some people who'll be like, "You guys hate DC. You ragged on Batwoman. You ragged on Wonder Woman 84, but glowed about WandaVision." Let's with a brief explanation of it. We'll close the show with the last segment of that. Of our quick DCU rankings, which I think is probably going to be a little bit more positive than we think. I'll start it off. Mine are. I start with Shazam. I love Shazam.
Ooh, wow.
Yes, Shazam is my number one. I really love it. I love the whole aspect of the comic book version of Big. Zach Levi as Billy Batson. I thought was great. I love that aspect to it. It gave us something different that we have never seen in comic book movies before, and I think it was just a lot of fun. And I like the fight at the end. I like the whole. Shazam family at the end coming together and all of that. I loved every aspect of it. So that's my number one. My number two, which these can probably move back and forth, is Wonder Woman. Obviously the original. Fantastic. That's one thing that Wonder Woman 84 was missing was there was no man's land scene. That scene is arguably the best scene in the entire DCEU.
Agreed.
So they crushed it and out of the park with that. My number 3 is Man of Steel. I really, really like Man of Steel, man. Henry Cavill's my favorite Superman. I was not a big Christopher Reeve guy, so I don't have that special place that a lot of fans have for those films. I think they're kind of goofy, but I respect what the original meant. It was a landmark film for the genre, so I will give it the props that it is, and I love General Zod in the over-the-top version that we got from Terrence Stamp in Superman 2, but I kind of dig this version of General Zod too, more ruthless, more, and everything like that. My 4 is Aquaman. Aquaman's my number 4, and I think it's a solid film. It's fun. Again, it doesn't take itself ultra seriously. Jason Momoa is awesome in it. I do love, and I think and again, something new that we got to see underwater. The whole underwater aspect of things like that, I thought was really cool. It was something visually that was kind of spectacular. So James Wan, super job with Aquaman there. My 5 is BVS Ultimate Edition.
Wow.
Yes, I hated the theatrical version. I walked out of that. I remember the theater seeing it, and I'm like, I liked Batfleck. I really liked Batfleck. I really liked Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. And I kind of think Superman got lost in the shuffle. So I was like, that kind of sucks. So that was my feelings. But I think the Ultimate Edition fleshes out the story more, gives you a lot more Lex Luthor stuff. So I think that adds a lot to it. So if you're not a BVS fan, which I know there's a lot of people out there who do not like, BVS. No, I know you don't. But I think giving the Ultimate Edition another crack and another shot is worth it, because honestly, it helped a lot for me. It's still not perfect. There's still some wonky things like, Martha, why did you say that name? Like, you can't get past that. So fine, it's still there. Then the next 2 are kind of tough for me. I've got Harley Quinn Birds of Prey right after as my number 6 slot. I think it's a movie that is fun. I agree with you, Jason. I saw your comments that you had wrote. I think it's a fun movie. I think that it has a lot going for it. I did like Ewan McGregor's Black Mask a lot. So I think he was a scene stealer. He went way over the top with it, which is fine. I just think the actual Birds of Prey are the worst part of the movie. Like, I didn't like Huntress. I thought she was pretty boring, like very vanilla. I thought Black Canary, which I like the actress. I don't know if somebody recognize her from Lovecraft Country that she was in on HBO. She's really good in that. But I think she was like very blah. So I think Harley Quinn stands out. To me, it was like Harley Quinn who runs into the Birds of Prey and they do things. So next on my list is Wonder Woman 1984. I don't hate it. I don't particularly like it either. And it's just a huge missed opportunity. We just went over that, so I'm not going to get into that one too much. Next is Justice League, which dropped pretty far down this ranking from last time I had done this years ago, right after seeing it. The more I rewatch it, the more it pisses me off. It really does. It really, really does piss me off. But we'll see. That one can get can get bumped out by the Snyder Cut. I admit that can get in there. We can swap them out just like I'm doing with BVS, and that can be replaced. And there's only one movie left, and Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad is an awesome 20 minutes, maybe. And there's the setup when they're introducing all the characters, and then once the story has to happen, they just had no clue what to do. Like, I don't know what the hell is going on there. And I walked out of that movie pissed. Like, I was pretty pissed about that one. So that's my quick rundown of the DCU. We talked about this. We kind of decided in our pre-show meeting that we're going to review the DCU. Those are going to be our films for a while because there's no new comic book movies coming out. So next week we're going to go in release order. We'll start with Man of Steel. So we'll get more into that. Tony, what do you got? What is your DCU rundown quick?
My mine is very similar to yours, to be honest with you. It just a couple of movies flip on that. My number 1 is the original Wonder Woman. I thought it was a great origin story for her. How she came to leave Themyscira, how she became, who she was, to learn who she was, to learn, how to, harness her power and so on and so forth. And the whole fish out of water thing, I thought she was great. So I enjoyed Wonder Woman. I didn't think that the villain was all that, was all that great in it. I always think of when I see David Thiel, I always think of the Harry Potter, the professor that he played in Harry Potter. So
Lupin?
yeah, Professor Lupin, who was the werewolf. I loved him in that movie, and to see him play a villain in this movie, especially one of Ares, that wasn't. I didn't love that aspect of it, but everything else was so great, I overlooked it. So that was number one for me. Number two is Man of Steel. I loved Man of Steel. I thought it was obviously the best origin story for Superman. I love the whole Krypton scene with Russell Crowe. I love the interaction that he got to have between his father, the General Zod thing. I thought the battle in Metropolis was about probably like 6 or 7 minutes too long, but the fact that they incorporated it into Batman vs Superman made it a little bit more palatable. People have a problem with the end scene with him, killing Zod or whatnot or whatever, but it went to show you that the human side of Superman went along with the fact that he was from Krypton. So I loved Man of Steel. Aquaman is my 3. I love Jason Momoa. I've never. If you would have told me 20 years ago that they were going to be able to remake Aquaman and it was going to make $1 billion, I would have told you were nuts. He owns this character. He plays it within his motorcycle kind of biker dude kind of a guy, and he's awesome. I love the scene. I love the fact that Boba Fett is his father. I love that. I mean, how could you not love that? I love that aspect of it. Queen Alana with Nicole Kidman. I mean, you get Nicole Kidman to play Queen Alana, like, oh my God, I was awesome. So loved everything about Aquaman. Love Shazam. Shazam is my number 4. Zach Levi. I love the kid, Asher Angel, I think his name is. He was fantastic. I mean, as Billy Batson, the kid. The family that I went to live with, down to, the one thing about that movie that I wish that they would have changed was the fact that I wish they would have found a way to get Henry Cavill in that scene at the end. That would have just been, that would have vaulted it for me. That would have been fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Batman vs Superman Ultimate Edition. I love this movie. This goes to show you how strong those first 4 movies are, because I really enjoy Batman vs Superman, the Ultimate Edition. As you said, the theatrical version was a shit show, but this movie kind of fills in all the blanks. I really, the warehouse scene with Batman is just there. I don't think there's a greater Batman scene out there. I mean, it was just him just kicking ass and taking names. It was phenomenal. I loved it. Birds of Prey falls next on my list. I think that they have a winner in Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. Like you said, the actual Birds of Prey were, like an afterthought. I know they used Harley Quinn to kind of advance that story with them. And for me, anything that Ewan McGregor in is a home run. So, that was there. 7, Wonder Woman 84. We talked about it. I don't need to say anything else. I would have liked this movie to be higher on this list, but just can't be. Justice League 8. It was, as you said, the first night we went to see it, we were very happy, and ever since then, and then knowing what we're going to be getting in March, it's terrible. So I still want to know what the reason for that Russian family living in the middle of a nuclear zone. So I mean, that's, you can explain that to me someday. But so and then finally, Suicide Squad, which is the most dog shit movie I've ever fucking seen in my entire life. I mean, I hated this movie. The first 20 minutes, like you said, Ed, I was like, this is gonna be awesome. And after Batman left the scene, after Batman left the screen, it was like, when they say that some movies, they kind of like, they fall off the rail, the movie goes off the rails. Well, this fell off a goddamn cliff. I mean, it was just, by the end of the movie, I was like, what are you talking about? Like, why do you have a gyrating freaking, like you saw, like in the beginning of that movie, when you saw what Enchantress can do, that thing with the freaking hand that turned around and then all of a sudden she was there and I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. Like, that was awesome. And then at the end, she's just floating and you have these rock-faced, we can go into this when we actually watch the film, which I'm unfortunately going to be forced to do. But I mean, it's awful. It's awful. They should never have made it. They gave the guy like 3 weeks to write the script. I mean, it's terrible. So there's no question. If I could put like 9 empty slots of movies that don't even exist, and then Suicide Squad would be behind those. I wanted to put it on this list, but I couldn't figure out how to do it in the notes program on the Mac. So that's my list.
I would put the Suicide Squad trailer ahead of the movie. Like, I
might put the Suicide Squad trailer up in the top 3 because we watched. Remember that we watched that the day it came out. Jason, I will tell you, we watched that trailer at work because it came out. Like just it dropped it at like 8:30 in the morning, and we watched it, and we were like, "Oh my god, this is going to be unbelievable!" And then we came in the next day, and we were like, "Can we just watch the trailer again?" I would have watched the trailer for 2 hours, other than watching what I saw.
That's
I'm
fair.
interested to see where you have it on your
I was about to say,
list.
now Jason's going to close this segment out. So
I can't wait to hear
our lists are very, very different, but it starts off very similar with Wonder Woman. I think Wonder Woman, as I said at the top, is the best. You know, it might have flaws. I saw some comments that there are flaws in it. Yeah, all movies have flaws. I'm giving it that. I don't care. I enjoy it, and I think it's a good movie. When I saw that, I wanted the DCEU, their serious movies, to be more like that. Yeah. So that's my number 1. My number 2 is Birds of Prey. And I'll tell you why. I agree with everything you said about Huntress and which one's the other one?
Black Canary.
Yeah, Black Canary. I agree. They're kind of forgettable, but I love Harley Quinn. I love Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. It is Harley Quinn's movie. I also get Rosie Perez as Montoya, which is like, you know, such a, like, her and Harley are like wonderful characters that are taken from the animated series. I believe that's where Montoya comes from, which I loved her then. And of course, like Black Mask, Sionis, like, and also it kind of tries to do a Deadpool where like there are F-bombs, and I look, spoilers for Birds of Prey, they literally blow Black Mask up with no fanfare at the end of that movie. Just boom, it's done. Yeah. And I really enjoyed the bold choices. I enjoyed the color. I enjoyed the comedy. I agree that there were aspects where it could have been better, but I think it was so much fun. There was so much going on that I literally just hadn't enjoyed myself in a DCEU movie as much as that since my third choice, which was Shazam.
Yeah.
Because I think Shazam is just, again, I like fun comic book movies. I either go for two things: world building and all these wonderful, like, you know, comic things, or fun. And I'll actually just take fun. I like fun. So Shazam is fun. I don't know anything about Shazam. I don't care anything about Shazam. That's my Shazam.
Okay.
4 is Aquaman. I think we all kind of put Aquaman around 4. I think it's, or somewhere along there. I think Jason Momoa surprised the hell out of me. That movie made me care about Aquaman, which I really didn't before. And I think it's a really well-constructed movie, and it looks great. So here's where it gets divisive. I like Justice League after that. I like, and this is the kid in me, I like seeing them together. I like the stupid parts you guys don't. I'm sure you guys hated the whole, like, you know, Superman looking at the Flash while he's trying to run. It's my favorite part of the movie, because there are just these things where I get to see them interact, and I like their interaction. That's what I'm there for. Like, the thing is, the whole thing with the villain Steppenwolf, like, I don't know anything about Steppenwolf. I don't care about Steppenwolf. Like, just going into this movie, because I didn't read those comics. So I'm going there to watch them interact, and I enjoyed that. Then I got Suicide Squad, all y'all favorite. I'm gonna say this. I recognize Suicide Squad is a train wreck. I recognize it is. I recognize there are parts of that movie which are ridiculously stupid. Look, the whole thing where they're fighting the Enchantress, get out of here. Like, watching Birds of Prey made me realize what I wanted in a Suicide Squad movie, and that was it. I wanted villains or people I didn't really know who couldn't carry their own movie to go against a street-level criminal and drop F-bombs and chum around. And actually, Suicide Squad was higher on my list than this until I saw Birds of Prey, and I lowered it because I'm like, wow, this could have been so much better. Like, I didn't realize how much more fun it could have been.
But what I like about that, pal.
What I like about
so much better.
No, it could have been. But what I like about Suicide Squad is it tries something different. I do enjoy those characters. It's got Will Smith. I'm a big Will Smith fan. It's got Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, and I'm a big Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie fan. And so there was enough. Again, it's a crap movie. I'm not defending it. I'm not saying it's great. I'm saying I enjoyed it a lot more than a lot of other people because there were things in it for me that I really respond to. That was it. Then I would say Man of Steel, but I'm going to put this caveat, as I told you guys in the beginning. I've only seen Man of Steel once in the theater. I am not at all a Superman fan. So in our rewatch, I am very much hoping that this bumps up. I'm hoping that I get more out of it in this rewatch because you guys, you speak so highly of it, and maybe I just need to give it another watch to really appreciate it. So I'm going to go in my rewatch with an open mind, and if it jumps, I'm gonna tell you that. And then I got my previous last was BVS, Batman vs Superman, and I'm going to say this: it doesn't matter. I don't really see a huge difference between the theatrical and the extended, just simply because the extended didn't fix the issues that I had with the movie. And my two biggest issues with the movie is, one, it is trying to be 3 movies at the same time, which is why I said before that maybe Zack Snyder would be better suited to make these kind of things long form as like a television show, and then you jump into movies, because he's trying to tell 3 different stories in one movie. And even if he's given a 4-hour cut, I don't want to sit in the theater for a 4-hour cut. I wouldn't have gone to see that.
I will. And just to jump in here for a second. I think that the reason why that is 3 different movies in one is because Warner Brothers said to him, we need to get this shit in the same film because we need to catch up to Marvel as quickly as possible. So
and that's part of my problem with it. And I only didn't bring it up because every time I bring it up, people like go, "Oh no, but DCEU is doing something different than Marvel." But that's my biggest problem is, and this is not Zack Snyder's fault, but it is his movie, so I have to say it's Zack Snyder's movie. That movie was not trying to be a movie; it was trying to start a franchise. And what I like about, like, Iron Man was not trying to start a franchise. Iron Man was telling an Iron Man story. You gave me Batman versus Superman without a Batman movie and with one Superman movie. Okay, I was in. I went to see it in the theater. But tell me that story. Don't then give me the death and return of Superman and bring all this other stuff in. Like, tell me one story and don't try to build a franchise. And that's my biggest problem with BVS, is it's trying to build a franchise. And that's Warner Brothers' fault, but it still is. Yeah. And that leaves my last, Wonder Woman 1984. I did not enjoy this movie. BVS, I found my problems with BVS was it was trying to do too much. I can respect that even if I don't enjoy it. Wonder Woman, I don't think was trying to do enough with all of its time. And it's like BVS, there were moments of BVS where I genuinely really loved. I like a lot of the stuff in there. There's just so much stuff that I don't really think belongs there that's my problem with it. It's why it's so low. 1984, I watched that movie and I go, why is any of this here? Why is this movie here? Like, because I don't understand what it's trying to do, where at least other movies like BVS, Man of Steel, and Suicide Squad, which were the ones above it, I at least understand what it's trying to do. So that is my rankings and my justification.
And again, like, I think anyone out there, what we look at it as this: all film is subjective. We all get what we want out of this. Terrence St. John, clearly is not a DCU fan. He's making that extremely clear.
But he finally agreed with me on something.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Terrence, thank you for supporting the show and hanging in with us. It's our first episode. We got a long one here. It's fine. This is our Snyder cut. Okay? We're leaving it off, but our Snyder cut.
Yeah.
So, but guess what? You can watch it in intervals. You can watch it recorded, however long you need to. But we gotta listen. If anything comes across on this first episode, we have a deep passion for this genre, for the comic book genre, for the TV shows, and we're really into it, man. So we want to let it all hang out there and show you guys what it is that's here, man. And if you were thinking we were anti-DCU show, we're absolutely not, because we spoke.
I will defend Birds of Prey to the bitter end to anyone who wants to take me on. That is a fun movie. All right. There are certain DCU properties I absolutely love. I might not love the ones that everyone else does, but I will defend the ones I love to the bitter end. So I'm not a DCU hater. I just am very critical about my movies.
And that's fun. And again, listen, we're all film fans. We all enjoy a lot of things. Wow.
Sorry, I was laughing at Terrence's comment.
It's fine. Listen, obviously he's again. I'm glad you're still hanging with us.
He's our number one fan right now.
He's our number one fan right now, and he is really hating the DCU, man. So, whatever. Listen, to each his own. If he doesn't like it, if that's not his thing, that's fine. Terrence, you're probably going to be kind of annoyed because next week we will be. Our movie review is going to be Man of Steel, and we're going to go through the DCU in release order. So we'll see. I mean, I think again we all like it. I love the lists that are so different. We've all enjoyed things. Jason, I know you have a place for Suicide Squad. You've expressed it over the years. When I heard you were watching Birds of Prey, I knew it was coming.
I mean,
and that's fine. But the thing is, I don't hate it. I remember for the quick thing is that. Jason and I, or he joins me for the theatrical nights, and Tony lives in Long Island, so we're not able to always do that. Maybe we'll work it out one day where the three of us can get together. But Jason's a part of our crew that's like 5 to 7 people deep, and we go the Thursday night 7:00 showings. We kind of agreed that we weren't going to do Birds of Prey because no one gave a crap, and we were like, all right, whatever. We'll see it when we see it. And then me and my wife and Tim we decided on a whim. We live around a corner from a movie theater. We'll go check it out, and I was pleasantly surprised.
I wish I would have seen it in the theater, but I honestly thought it was going to be like the Suicide Squad again. And as much as I enjoy parts of that movie, it's rather high on my list considering how bad a movie it is. I didn't think it would be any better or as good. And I just didn't want to sit through that. But after watching it, I was so pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. So,
Didn't it come out right around the time that COVID started? Like, didn't it come out like in like late January or early February or something?
It dropped. I want to say early to mid-February. It dropped in the theater.
Yeah, I think that because I didn't see it in the theater, and I think that's the reason why was because. I think that it fell on a bad week. I didn't go to see it right away, and then like 2 weeks later, we started to get into this whole COVID thing, and that was the end of. I haven't been in a movie. The last movie I saw in the theater was Rise of Skywalker, which, if you've ever had this conversation with me, that's not a good thing. So, that was not the movie to leave off my movie going experience with. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing something else in the theater other than that.
Yeah, we'll be back in there soon enough. I mean, listen, let's hope we can see Black Widow in the theater, that they're not forced to push it again. Or, I mean, I'm not going to get that upset if they drop it on Disney Plus because I have Disney Plus, so it's okay.
Exactly.
But, like I do miss the theater experience. I think all three of us enjoy going to the theater, and there's an excitement and everything like that. So there's definitely a fun to it, but. I think we'll wrap this up now. This is our, I see Terrence is there.
Debut marathon show.
Yeah, this is our debut marathon show. I don't think every episode will be 3 hours, but we'll see where it goes. Listen, it's fine. I'm not apologizing for it whatsoever.
But I'm going to say, if you don't like this episode, we're going to release a 6-hour Camus cut in like 4 months.
Yes, we're going to drop it on. I don't know.
$70 million we're going to give them to
that's right.
Get that 6-hour version.
The translation is they're going to give me $70 to cut it down.
I ain't giving you $70. I don't know about Jason. I ain't giving you shit.
And no, probably not. I wouldn't give me $70 to do it. But, hey, listen, thank you for joining us. Super excited about the show. Glad to get it finally started. Jason, Tony, you guys have been phenomenal. Thank you for getting us started with me. Next week, we're going to be covering WandaVision, the third episode 3. Our movie was we go through the DCU. As we said, we wanted to do the rankings here because we're going to start with Man of Steel. So we'll have our retro review of Man of Steel next week. And that's it, man. So everyone take care. Stay safe out there. Keep doing what you got to do. We'll all get through this together. Jason, you got any closing thoughts, quick?
No, just go enjoy a comic book movie. Whatever comic books you like. Look, even if you like BBS or Suicide Squad, which is the 2 least movies that we like, go enjoy them, man. These are fun things. Just go enjoy them. That's all I'm saying. Thanks for having me.
Exactly. Tony, what do you got to close out?
Yeah, Nothing. I'm excited to watch Man of Steel again. That's we talked about it. We decided that you don't, if you know the movie well enough, you don't have to watch it again. I choose to watch Man of Steel. I don't know if I'll watch Suicide Squad. Maybe I'll humor Jason and actually try to sit through it. But I will. I am very much looking forward to reviewing Man of Steel next week. It is one of my favorites. So that should be good. And just like you said, everybody stay safe and have a good week.
Yeah, and if you liked what you saw here, join the group. If you got a Facebook account, jump over to Facebook. Join the group on Pop Culture Crows. Join Granny's Peach Tea. Check out all the other shows that are on. Kyle and Jader, Empire 161. If you're a Mets fan, put it in the books is also out there. Giant Show, We Stomped You Out, which Tim is on as well. The A to Z show is out there. And wow.
Very funny, Terrence.
Terrence, man, funny. I gotta stop reading your comments. You keep making me laugh on.
Yeah, I gotta switch back to private chat because I can't look at that.
Yeah, Terrence is fun with this. So, yeah, and then and that's it. And also, Just Too Sweet show. Don't forget to check that out. If wrestling is your thing on Pop Culture Pros. So, until next time, true believers. Peace.
Later.